I'm Dokja. Dokja equals can mean only son or reader. I usually introduced myself to people like this, then the following misunderstanding would occur. Oh, are you an only child? I am, but that isn't what I mean. Huh. Then? My name is Dokja. Kim Dokja. Kim Dokja, Kim highly respected only son. My father gave me that name to be a strong man by myself. However, thanks to the name my father gave me, I turned out to be just a normal single and lonely man. In short, it was like this. I was Kim Dokja, 28 years old, and single. My hobby was reading web novels on the subway. Then I'll go on my smartphone. In a noisy subway, I raised my head reflexively. A pair of curious eyes were staring straight at me. They belonged to an employee from the human resources team, Usanga. Hello. Are you going home from work? Yes. What about Usanga SSI? I was lucky. The manager went on a business trip today. Usanga sat down soon as the seat next to me became vacant. A subtle scent came from her shoulders, making me nervous. Do you normally take the subway? That. Usanga made a dark expression. Come to think of it, this was the first time I'd met Usanga on a subway train. Starting with personnel manager Kong to finance manager Han. There were rumors that Usanga had men from the company driving her home every workday. Yet unexpected words came from Usanga's mouth. Someone stole my bicycle. Bicycle? You commute by bike? Yes. I have a lot of overtime these days and seem to be lacking exercise. It is a bit annoying, but it is worth doing. I see. Usanga smiled. Looking closer at her, I could understand the feelings men held toward her. However, it was none of my business. Every person had a genre of life, and Usanga was someone who lived a genre different from myself. After the awkward conversation, we looked at our phones. I opened up the novel app one was reading on before while Usanga. What was this? Por favor dinero. Huh. Spanish. I see. What does it mean? Please give me some money, Usanga replied proudly. Studying on the subway while going home. She truly had a genre different from me. However, what was the use of memorizing words? You're working hard. By the way, what is Dr. SSI looking at? Usanga's gaze was fixed on the LCD screen of my smartphone. Is it a novel? Yes, well. I am studying Korean. Wow, I also like novels. I haven't been able to read lately because I don't have time. It was surprising. Usanga liked reading novels. Murakami Haruki, Raymond Carver, Hong Kong. I thought so. Dr. SSI, what writers do you like? You won't know even if I say their names. I've read a lot of novels. Who are the authors? At this time, it was really hard to say that I read web novels as a hobby. I glanced at the title of the novel in the app. The World After the Fall. Author, Sing Shangshong, TL. The author uses the name of his previous novel and his author name, but with slight changes. I decided to go with the actual novel translation name. I couldn't say that I was reading The World After the Fall by Sing Shangshong. It is just a fantasy novel. That. Well, like The Lord of the Rings. Usanga's eyes widened. Aha. Lord of the Rings. I've seen the movie. The movie is good. The silence continued for a moment. Usanga was looking at me like she was waiting for me to say something. Our conversation was becoming strained. So, I decided to change the topic. It has been a year since I joined the company. This is my last year. Time moves really fast. Yes. At that time, we both knew nothing, right? That's right. It seems like just yesterday, but the contract period is already over. I realized that I'd said something wrong when I saw Usanga's expression. I had forgotten. Usanga received credit for a foreign buyer last month and was already promoted to a full-time employee. Right. My congratulations are late. I'm sorry. I should have worked hard to study a foreign language. No Dr. SSI. There is still the performance review and... I hated to admit it, but the sight of Usanga talking was wonderful. It was like the world spotlight was shining down on only one person. If this world was a novel, the protagonist would be such a person. In fact, it was the inevitable result. I hadn't tried, but Usanga made an effort. I just read novels on the internet, while Usanga studied hard. It was natural that Usanga would become a full-time employee, and that my contract would be terminated. That. Dr. SSI. Yes. If you don't mind. Would you like to know the app one use? Usanga's voice momentarily became distant. It felt like the world was far away. I braced my mind and stared straight ahead. A boy was sitting in the seat opposite me on the train. He was 10 years old or so. The boy held an insect collecting net as he sat next to his mother, laughing happily. Dr. SSI? What if I had a different life from now? I mean, what if my life genre was different? Kim Dok. If the genre of my life wasn't realism, but fantasy. Could I be the protagonist? I didn't know. It would probably be unknown forever. However, there was one thing I knew. It is okay, Usanga SSI. It won't work even if you tell me the app. The genre of my life was obviously realism. Dokja has a solo life. Huh. What? I am just someone like that. In this genre, I wasn't a protagonist but a solo person. The life of a solo. Yusanga had a serious expression on her face. However, I waved my hands to show it was really okay. I didn't know why, but this person was really worried about me. Maybe because she was part of the personnel department. I was already aware of my performance though. Dr. SSI is really good. Yes? Then I will live an ivory life. Sanga equals ivory. Yusanga seemed to have decided something as she turned back to studying Spanish. I gazed at her for a while before returning to the novel. Everything had returned to normal, but strangely, my scrolling of the novel didn't go well. Maybe it was because I realized the weight of reality that I couldn't scroll down. At that time, a notification appeared at the top of my smartphone. You have one new mail. It was from the author of Ways of Survival. I opened the mail. Reader Nim, my novel will become paid from 7 p.m. This will be helpful. Good luck. One attachment. The author said he would give me a gift. What was the gift? Like my name, I was also a reader by nature. So, I was excited to receive the mail. I checked the time. It was 6:55 p.m. I had exactly 5 minutes before the novel became monetized at 7 p.m. Then I opened up my list of preferred novels in the app. Since I was the only reader, I should leave a congratulatory comment and give strength to the author. However, the work doesn't exist. I tried typing ruined several times in the search box, but the result was the same. The bulletin board for Ways of Survival had disappeared without a trace. It was strange. Had there ever been a case of a novel being deleted without notification when it was going to be monetized? At that moment, the subway lights turned off, and the inside of the train became dark. Kaiyayik dash. The subway train shook loudly and let out a metallic sound. It caused Yusanga to scream and grab my arm. Then I heard the sound of other people getting stirred up. Yusanga gripped my arm so tightly that I paid more attention to the pain in my left arm than the sudden stop. It took a dozen seconds for the train to stop fully. Then I heard confused voices coming from everywhere. What? What is this? In the dark, 1 or 2 smartphone lights turned on. Yusanga still held my left arm tightly as she asked, what is going on? I pretended to be unconcerned. Don't worry. It isn't a big deal. Is that so? Yes, it is probably a disturbance from a suicide. The engineer will soon make an announcement. As I finished speaking, I heard the engineer's announcement, telling all passengers on the train. The loud surroundings became calm. I sighed and opened my mouth. See, it isn't a big deal. Now an apology will air, and the power will come back on. Everyone run away, run. What? There was a beeping sound, and the broadcast turned off. The inside of the train became a mess. Dr. SSI? What is this? A bright light flashed from the front of the subway train. There was a loud drumming sound followed by a pop. N/O/vel/b/in.c//om. Something was heading this way in the darkness. It was just a coincidence that I saw the clock at this moment, 7 p.m. Tick, it felt like the world was stopping. Then I heard a voice. The free service of Planetary System 8612 has been terminated. The main scenario has started. This was the moment the genre of my life changed. Dakibi. The first time he appeared, someone said so. Korean Goblin. Check out the link for more information. I didn't know why, but that sentence suddenly popped up in my head. The stopped subway train, the dark room. These details gave me a sense of déjà vu. The subway had stopped before, but it was rare. Even so, why? I remembered the familiar words from a novel, but it was ridiculous. Wasn't it impossible? At this moment, the door of car 3807 opened wide, and the electricity returned. Yusanga muttered by my side, Dakibi? My head was ringing. I trembled uneasily as the novel I knew and the reality before me overlapped. With 2 small horns and wearing a small straw mat, the strange and fluffy creature was floating in the air. It was too strange to call it a fairy, too evil to call it an angel, and too tranquil to call it a demon. Thus, it was called a Dakibi. And I already knew the first thing the Dakibi would say. And hashtag at, and hashtag at. And hashtag at, and hashtag at. Fiction and reality overlapped precisely. What is this? Augmented reality? Amidst the chattering people, I was thrown into another world alone. This was unmistakably a Dakibi, the very Dakibi that opened the door to tragedy for thousands of lives in Ways of Survival. It was Yusanga's voice that broke me out of my thoughts. It sounds vaguely like Spanish. Should I talk to it? I was a bit taken aback and asked, do you know what that is? Will you ask it for money? No, but... It was at this time that I heard the correct pronunciation of Korean. Does this sound good? I had a hard time because the Korean patch didn't work. Everyone, can you hear my words? As a familiar language was being spoken, I could see people's expressions relax. Then the first one to step up was a big man in a suit. Hey, what are you doing right now? Huh? Are you filming? I have to go because I have to quickly get to an audition, n/o/vel/b/. He seemed to be an obscure actor since his face was unfamiliar. If I were a casting director, I would have picked him out for his brimming ambition. Unfortunately, the presence before him right now wasn't a director. Auditions. That's right. This is also an audition. There was a shortage of data. I just entered when it was monetized at 7 p.m. What? What are you talking about? Now. All of you, relax in your seats and listen to me. From now on, I will tell you something very important. My chest was becoming stuffy. What? Quickly get off the train. Somebody call the captain. What are they doing without the cooperation of the citizens? Mother, what is that? A cartoon? There was no doubt about it. This was the development I knew. I didn't want to be mixed up in this, but there was no way. The people present wouldn't listen to the small and cute-looking CG creature. The only thing I could do was stop Usanga, who was trying to get up from her seat. Usanga SSI, it is dangerous, so stay here. Usanga's eyes widened. I spoke during a moment of bewilderment, but there was no way to explain what I understood. To be exact, I didn't have to explain. You are really loud. There was a presence with a stronger persuasive power than anyone else right now. I told you to be quiet. I closed my eyes slowly as the Dakibi's eyes turned red. Something burst, and the subway became silent. There was a big hole in the forehead of the unknown actor who had to go to the audition. The man who had spoken several times collapsed on the spot. This isn't a movie shoot. There was a cracking sound once again. This time, it was the person talking about the captain. It isn't a dream. It isn't a novel either. 1, 2. Blood sprayed into the air as the heads of some people started to burst. They were all the people who had protested against the Dakibi, as well as the ones who screamed or went wild. Those who caused the slightest fuss had a hole in their heads. Suddenly, the subway became a bloodbath. This isn't the reality that you know. Do you understand? So everyone shut up and listen to me. More than half the people present here died. Blood and body pieces filled the subway. Now, the people didn't scream. Like primitive apes in front of a powerful predator, everyone just watched the Dakibi with terror. I was surprised and held tightly onto the shoulder of Usanga, who was hiccuping. This was real. The strange message which entered my ears, the Dakibi had appeared in front of me, and the train car that had become a bloodbath. Everyone, your lives have been nice so far. Isn't that right? By the special needs seating, an elderly grandmother met the eyes of the Dakibi. You have been living too long for free. Isn't life too generous? You were born and paid no price for breathing, eating, pooping and breeding. You really live in a good world. Free? No one in the subway lived for free. The people strive to make money in order to survive, and they rode the subway on the way home from work. Yet at this moment, no one disputed the Dakibi's words. But now the good days are over. How long can you continue living for free? If you want to enjoy happiness, it is common sense to pay a price. Isn't that right? The gasping people couldn't answer. Then at that time, someone carefully raised their hand. Do you want money? I wondered what type of person could speak in the middle of this situation, but surprisingly, I knew his face. Usanga SSI. Isn't that department head Han of the finance team? Right. There was no doubt. He was a typical parachute in the company and the number one person newcomers avoided. Parachute, a person who relies on their connections, it was Han Myungo, department head of the finance team. Why was that man riding the subway? I will give you money. Take it. Please note that I am a person like this. Department head Han pulled out his business card as people cheered him on. It was the atmosphere of a savior fighting against terrorists. How much do you want? A big one? Or two? He was offering a sum that was overly large for a department head of a subsidiary company. There was a rumor that Han Myungo was the youngest son of the leader of the affiliate company, and now I thought it might be true. I couldn't carry that many checks in my wallet. You are giving me money? That's right. The cash I have right now isn't much, but I can give you anything if you let me out of here. Money, good. A plant fiber that many humans mutually agree on. The department head's expression brightened. It was an, indeed, money is everything expression. How pitiful. Now, this is all I have. It only applies in your time and space. At the next moment, flames appeared in the air, and the checks in the department head's hands burned up. Department head Han let out a scream. That paper has no value in the macrocosm world. If you do this one more time, I will blow away your head. Fear once again spread on the faces of the people present. It was easy to read what they were thinking because it was just like the novel. What the hell will happen now? Only I knew what was going to happen in the future. Phew, the debt is piling up during the time when you are noisy. Well, yes. Rather than explain it 100 times, isn't it quicker for you to make money yourself? The Dakibi's horns rose like they were antennas, and its body floated to the ceiling of the train. A moment later, a message rang out. #BI7623 channel is open. The constellations have entered. A small window emerged in front of everyone's blank eyes. The main scenario has arrived. Plus. Main scenario number 1, proof of value. Category, main. Difficulty, F. Clear conditions, kill 1 or more living things. Time limit, 30 minutes. Compensation, 300 coins. Failure, death. Plus. The Dakibi smiled faintly as it became transparent and disappeared into the next space. Then, good luck everyone. Please show me an interesting story. Previous chapter. People reacted differently after the Dakibi disappeared. Some people tried to get out of the train while others called the police. Yusanga belonged to the latter group. Police, the police aren't answering. What should I? Calm down, Yusanga SSI, I said, staring straight into Yusanga's unfocused eyes. Yusanga SSI. Have you ever played the game that the development team made? A game where the world is destroyed and only a few people survive. Huh? What are you say? Think about it. We are in a game right now. Yusanga silently licked her lips. Game. It is simple. Don't hesitate to do as I tell you. Understood? You understood. What should I do? Stay still. Finally, I slowly controlled my breathing. I too needed time to properly accept all of this. 3 ways to survive in a ruined world. The descriptions that existed only in the novel were now unfolding right before my eyes. The Dakibi stretched out its antenna. The bodies scattered like trash in the carriage. The bloodied office worker shaking. An old lady groaning in her seat. I watched every scene intently. It was like Neo in the Matrix, who suspected reality. Observing, questioning, and then eventually being convinced. I had to admit it. I didn't know the reason why, but there were no doubts about it. Ways of survival had become a reality. Let me think. How should I survive in this new world? Come on, everybody. Everybody calm down. Start breathing calmly. Someone stepped forward exactly 5 minutes after the Dakibi disappeared. He was a sturdy man with short cut hair, 1 head taller than the average height. Are you calm yet? Please stop your actions and pay attention to me for a moment. The people sobbing or making calls stopped. Once everyone's eyes were gathered on him, the big man opened his mouth again. As you know, in the event of a national disaster, small disturbances can cause large human casualties. That's why I will now control the situation. What? Who are you? A national disaster situation? What are you saying? Some people belatedly recovered and strongly resisted the world control. Then the young man pulled a government official card out of his wallet. I am currently an army lieutenant serving in the 6502 unit. Some people's faces became relieved. A soldier, he is a soldier. However, it was too early to be relieved. I just received a message from my unit. People gathered in front of the soldier's smartphone. I was able to read the contents without difficulty because I was near it. A level 1 national disaster situation has occurred, all troops gather quickly. I could hear gulps all around me. It was a national disaster situation. I wasn't surprised because I had already expected this. In fact, I was surprised because of something else. Army Lieutenant Lee Hyun-sung. That Lee Hyun-sung was this man. I knew who he was. It was the first time actually seeing his face, but his name was clear in my head. He was one of the main supporting actors of Ways of Survival. Steel Sword Lee Hyun-sung. A character from the novel had appeared. Now I really had to acknowledge the situation. Soldier Nim. What is happening? I have been trying to contact my unit, but... The Blue House. What is the Blue House doing? Please contact the president quickly. I'm sorry. I am just an ordinary soldier and don't have a hotline to the Blue House. Then why are you taking control? For the sake of the safety of all citizens. As Lee Hyun-sung calmly responded to the absurd questions, I realized that the descriptions in the novel weren't wrong. However, did Lee Hyun-sung originally appear like this? While thinking about these complicated questions, I had a strange hunch. As the only reader of Ways of Survival, I could assure you that Lee Hyun-sung's first appearance wasn't like this. The point at which he appeared in the novel was at the end of the first scenario. Then what was this situation? My mind became confused. I would know more clearly if I could read Ways of Survival once again. The Prime Minister is making a speech. It is really a level 1 disaster. Everyone turned on their smartphones at someone's cry. Yusanga turned her screen toward me. Dr. SSI, look at this. There was no need to enter a search term. It was because the first result for all portal sites was Prime Minister's speech. Of course, I already knew the content of the video. To all my fellow citizens, unidentified terrorists are currently active in an unspecified number of areas, including Seoul. The contents of the speech were simple. The current government would mobilize all means and methods to fight the terrorists, and there would never be any negotiations. Thus, everyone should confidently continue with their lives, n/o/vel/before. I hadn't thought much of it when I read the novel, but now I was a bit shocked when hearing those words. Terrorism. Yes, that would be more comfortable. But where is the president? Why is the Prime Minister making the speech? The president has already been hit. What? Really? I'm not sure. A neighbor comment. Shit, then it is fake. Of course, I knew it wasn't a fake comment. Yuak. What? People dropped their phones as gunshots were heard from all over. It originated from their smartphones. Cheek, there was a loud sound, and blood filled the screen. After a moment, people held their breaths as they realized what had happened. Prime Minister. The Prime Minister had died. His head had exploded in real time. There were several more sounds like gunfire before the screen became silent. The next thing that appeared on the screen was a dakibi. Everyone, I've told you already. This isn't a game like terrorism. People were at a loss for words as their mouths gaped open like dumb goldfish. Do you still not understand? This won't do. Do you still feel like this is a game? It felt so ominous because his tone was so relaxed. Subconsciously, I made a fist using all my strength. According to the data, the people of this country are very good at games. So, why don't I try raising the difficulty? Beep. A huge timer appeared in the air. At the same time, it started decreasing rapidly. The remaining time has been decreased by 10 minutes. There are 10 minutes remaining. If the first killing doesn't occur within the next 5 minutes, all lives in that carriage will be wiped out. What is this? Is it a joke? Didn't you hear the message just now? Hey, didn't you hear it? Soldier Nim. What do we do now? Why isn't the police coming? Everyone, calm down and listen to me. The words of the dakibi caused the situation in the carriage to become so severe that Lee Hyun-sung couldn't fix it. I could feel Sanga gripping my collar tightly. Still, I couldn't shake off the incongruity of this situation. Lee Hyun-sung, a supporting character, had already appeared. So, why hadn't he emerged? According to what I knew, I should have seen him by now. There is a murder back there. A scene from the 3907 train car could be seen through the aisle window. The complexion of the killer in that carriage was white. We have to keep them out. Don't let anyone in. People held tightly to the iron door, but it wasn't necessary. The enemy wasn't there in the first place. All types of access to the carriage will be restricted until the scenario is complete. Along with this message, people were thrown back from the iron door like they had hit a transparent barrier. What is this? Once again, the voice of the dakibi rang out, there are some places that are quite fun while other places haven't started yet. Okay, this is a special service. I will show you what will happen if nothing occurs in the next 5 minutes. A giant screen appeared in the subway. The place that appeared on the screen was a classroom. Girls in their navy blue school uniform were shaking. A boy bit his fingernails and muttered, "Is that the school uniform of Daepong?" Beep 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 beep, an ominous beeping sound was heard. Then the high school girls started to scream. The given time has run out. Paid settlement will begin. Once the announcement ended, the heads of the high school girls sitting in the front row exploded. One by one again. More and more heads exploded. The high school girls screamed and ran toward the classroom doors or windows. How? Cleaning tools broke and nails were torn out, but the doors didn't open. No one could get out. Pyong. The heads of the high school girls continued to burst. Then a high school girl strangled her friend, who died with a groan. After a while, the only thing that remained on the screen was the last schoolgirl looking around. #Bay23515 channel. Daepong Girls High School, Year 2 Class B Survivor, Lee Jae-hai. The figure of the girl on the screen disappeared. Then the dakibi asked, "How is it? Interesting?" The dakibi spoke with a smile, but people weren't looking at the screen anymore. The people who made eye contact were gradually moving away from each other. Shit. What is this? Even Sanga released her hold on me. However, she didn't move away from me. Both my hands were freed, and I turned on my smartphone. Why was that guy still not showing up? There was a mixture of information that I knew from the novel and information that I didn't know. The only way to break through this situation was to read Laws of Survival again. However, where else could I find the novel? The novel wasn't popular enough to be shared illegally. No, wait a minute. One attachment. I was stunned for a moment as I saw the notification on my smartphone. Perhaps. No. I was confused the moment I opened the mail attachment. The name of the attachment sent by the author was 3 Ways to Survive in a Ruined World.txt. Previous chapter. Laughter emerged. I had to clear my eyes and look again to see if it was a lie. The file extension was txt. Then this person. The gift he sent me was a copy of his novel? You have obtained an exclusive attribute. The exclusive skill slot has been activated. I heard a message in my ear after running the file. It wasn't surprising if the world had changed into Ways of Survival. All survivors of Ways of Survival had exclusive attribute and skills. I quietly said attribute window in my mind. I needed to know the attribute that I received. You can't activate the attribute window. What? I once again tried to call out attribute window, but the result was the same. It was absurd. There was something like this? If I couldn't use the attributes window, I couldn't know what attributes or skills I have. Knowing oneself and one's enemies meant being invincible. But this was a situation where I didn't even know myself, let alone the enemy. After staring into space for a while, I gave up and decided to read the text that the author gave me. Your reading speed has increased due to the effect of the exclusive attribute. I didn't know what the attribute as, but it took me less than a minute to read the first act of Ways of Survival thanks to the attribute effect. I found it. The place where my finger stopped was the beginning of the work, where the main character was doing some action in the train scene. He saw people gathered at the back door of the 3707 carriage. The wheel of the tightly held lighter was cold. In this life, he absolutely couldn't make a mistake. He would use any means for his purpose. The expression of fear on the people's faces. He didn't feel any guilt. Everything was fleeting. He looked at the people with merciless eyes. After a while, his fingertips moved and fire rose. Then it all started. A chill went down my spine and I had to read the passage again and again. The reason for my discomfort was soon revealed. NOV-L-B-3707. I reflexively checked the number of the carriage I was riding. 3807. The carriage I was on right now was behind the carriage that the protagonist was riding. My hands faintly shook. Wait a minute. How many people originally survived this carriage? He looked through the blurred window at the 3807 carriage. It was already too late. It was inevitable. Anyway, only 2 people survived in that carriage. Only 2 survived. It meant that everyone died except for 2 people. And I already knew who those 2 people were. I raised my head and looked blankly at Usanga. Maybe this woman would die. Me as well. Dr. SSI, shouldn't we stop this? Something was starting in the place where Usanga pointed. It was groaning. A young man was crouching down in front of the elderly woman. Shit, I'm in a bad mood and this old lady keeps whining and groaning. Won't you shut up? The young man was a male student who had been leaning against the entrance. He was thin and had dyed white hair. His name was written on the badge attached to his uniform. Kim Namwon. It was a name that I knew. Only Lee Hyunsung and Kim Namwon survived in that carriage. It doesn't matter. They are the only 2 I need anyway. Didn't I tell you to shut up? The agitated Kim Namwon grabbed the grandmother's collar. The grandmother's powerless legs staggered. Kim Namwon's palm moved through the air. Slap. Slap. In normal times, somebody would run to stop this. But now nobody was moving. It wasn't long before the slaps changed to punches. Save me. Save me. I could hear the sound of a hard fist hitting flesh. Some of the men around Kim Namwon hesitated but none of them wanted to go forward. Surprisingly, the first person to act was Han Myung-go. Young me, treating an elder like this. However, all he got in reply was a voice mixed with scorn. Mister, do you want to die? What? You still don't understand the situation? What bullshit is this brat saying? Kim Namwon only laughed at the cursing Han Myung-go. He pointed to the ceiling of the subway carriage with his finger. Can't you see that? On the ceiling, a holographic screen was playing. Spare me. Aok. Die. Die. It wasn't just train carriages or Daepong High School. It was a live video of people dying all over the country. Kim Namwon continued speaking. You still don't understand? The army isn't coming to rescue us. And somebody must die. What are you saying? We have to choose a person to die. Han Myung-go wasn't able to answer. The hairs of his exposed wrist were standing up. Of course, I know what you are thinking. You have to kill your fellow countrymen to live. It is something only sons of bitches will do. But you know, it is a force beyond our control. Beyond our control. We will die if we don't kill. Who will blame us? Are you going to die in the end because of your morals? That. Think carefully. The world you have known so far has just ended. Han Myung-go's shoulders trembled. It wasn't only Han Myung-go. Cracks were showing in people's eyes. It was a scene where the vague morality was collapsing. Kim Namwon put a wedge in that crack. A new world requires new laws. Kim Namwon. A young man who adapted to the world of Ways of Survival the fastest. Kim Namwon turned around and resumed punching the grandmother. This time, nobody stopped him. Han Myung-go, the other men. Even Lee Hyunsung. The soldier's fists were trembling as he stared into the air with a lost expression. Maybe he had also made a decision. Sigh. It is hard to kill. Are you doing to just watch? Do you want to fall behind? People trembled at Kim Namwon's words. Their facial expressions were as easy to read as the sentences in a cheap novel. If there is no killing in 5 minutes, everyone in this carriage will die. People's eyes were changing. If the grandmother doesn't die, we will die in 5 minutes. The most primitive eyes that a living creature could have. Yes. This bastard is right. If we don't do this, everyone will die. The first man rushed towards Kim Namwon. He kicked at the old lady who had collapsed and was curled up. Have you forgotten? Someone must die. So we can live. Ah fuck. I don't know. The second and third. The people standing aloof from the grandmother. The cowardly men who had been lingering. The university student filming this with their phone. The mother of the child and Han Myung-go. They all lynched the grandmother, aiming for her death. Die. Die quickly. They were like guards cooperating for the death penalty. Like the guards pulling the lever at the same time so they couldn't tell who killed the prisoner, these people passively kicked and punched the grandmother. And I was watching all of this. I was standing by, like someone watching what happened in another world. The grandmother whose name I didn't know was someone who wasn't meant to live. In the original scenario, the grandmother died. So, it wasn't a sin to observe that death. At that moment, Usanga got up. You will be killed. I reflexively grabbed her. I told you not to move. The arm I was holding was shaking. Usanga made tight fists in an attempt to hide her trembling. I know. Usanga SSI will die if you go now. Usanga's eyes were shaking with fear. Even so, I realized it. Despite the genre of the story changing, some people still shone brightly. Usanga SSI. Sit down. However, the person who could change this story wasn't Usanga. Usanga wasn't the protagonist of this world. Huh. But do as I say, just this once. I won't interfere after that. After forcibly putting Usanga back in her seat, I took a deep breath and turned around. I straightened my back and shook as I breathed out. I slowly loosened my ankles and wrist. In fact, it was a little early to come forward. This wasn't my plan originally. Dr. SSI? I didn't answer her call as I looked at the people. The people intent on assaulting the grandmother. I wasn't still because I was afraid or Kim Namwon and the people, nor did I consent to their inhumanity. I was just waiting. It was for the moment I had to move. Thus. Kwang. Right now. Ack. What? An explosion filled my ears and the train shook. People cried out. Smoke rose from the front right corner of this carriage. It had started. He had moved. I kicked off from the ground as hard as I could with my right foot. I passed by the people screaming and sitting down towards the grandmother. What? Eok. Kim Namwon collided with me and fell to the ground with a scream. At first glance, it seemed like I was saving the grandmother, but that wasn't what I was aiming for. Where was it? I looked around quickly. Somebody had fallen towards the grandmother due to the explosion. It was a kid crying in the middle of this hell. The kid who was holding the insect collecting net before. Excuse me a moment. I took the net from the child. Once I put my hand into the net, the chitin of a grasshopper reached my fingertips. I took one out and placed it in the kid's hands. Then I turned towards the people. Everybody stop. You can't live if you kill the grandmother. My voice was surprisingly clear due to the temporary silence after the explosion. One by one, people started looking at me. Let's say you kill the grandmother. What next? Their surprised faces looked good. Let me tell you a bit more. The grandmother's death will be recognized for what the Dakibi calls the first murder, and some time will be bought. Then what next? If what the Dakibi says is true, you each have to kill one thing. So who will you kill after the grandmother? Will you kill the person next to you? The people who thought about something retreated from each other. Horror was in their eyes. In fact, everyone knew. The grandmother was just the beginning. Kim Namwon noticed the shaky atmosphere. What are you all worried about? Then kill him next. Cowards. Don't worry about your turn in advance. The odds are equal. I figured that Kim Namwon would say something like this. I cut him off with a slight wave of my hand. There is no need to gamble like that. There is a way for you to survive, even if you don't become a killer. What? What is it? The people became greatly agitated. Kim Namwon's expression distorted. Have you forgotten? The scenario clear condition wasn't to kill a person. Most people were still puzzled, but a few people noticed something. Kill one or more living things. That's right. From the beginning, the word person was never specified in the contents of the scenario. Kill one or more living things. In other words, any life was possible. A quick-witted person shouted at the collection net in my hand. Insect. Insects. The grasshoppers were jumping in the collection net. People's eyes were shining. I nodded. That's right, the insects. I put my hand into the net and took out a grasshopper. It was a chubby one that I saw earlier. Give that to me. Quickly. One only. I just need one. I stepped back slowly as I looked at the approaching people. I was now facing the explosive madness that tried to kill the grandmother. Yet a smile emerged. Why? Even in this breathtaking tension, why was my heart beating with joy? Would you like it? I waved the net like a trainer provoking an animal. Several impatient people leapt towards me. Then catch them. I smashed the grasshopper in my hand. You have achieved the first kill achievement. 100 coins have been earned as additional compensation. At the same time, I threw the net in my other hand as hard as possible. It was towards the opposite side of the area where the grandmother and the crowd was gathered. This is crazy. The insects were released and jumped as hard as they could for freedom. Previous chapter. People panicked as they saw the insects running around the carriage. Hey. Why would you do such a tea? While some people were staring blankly, the quick-witted pushed toward me. You son of a bitch. You better find them soon. There are only 3 minutes left. These words were a signal as people started to look everywhere among the subway seats like beasts who had lost their minds. I got it. Ugh. The joy of those fortunate enough to obtain an insect, as well as the malicious attacks on them, caused the carriage to become chaotic. Hey, why did you do that? Couldn't you have just given them the insects? Looking back, I saw Kim Namwon raising his body. I responded cautiously to Kim Namwon, who was stretching his neck. There are 12 people remaining. Huh. There were 3 insects left in the collecting net. Kim Namwon frowned for a moment before smiling broadly. 12 to 3? Ha 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 ha. Yes. Not all of them can survive anyway. So you threw that thing? Yes. Don't make me laugh. A person with common sense wouldn't do such a thing for that reason. Kim Namwon's smile widened. Tell me honestly. You just wanted to see this scene, didn't you? I recalled the Kim Namwon that I knew from Ways of Survival. At this moment, I heard a message in my ears. Exclusive skill, character list, is activated, n/o/vel/b/. Next, a window opened in front of my eyes. I still didn't know exactly what my attribute was, but I looked at the window in front of me. Character information. Name, Kim Namwon. Age, 19. Constellation support, none. 2 constellations are currently showing interest in this person. Private attribute, Chinibu, general. Exclusive skills, unusual adaptability LV3, knife fighting LV1, blackening LV1. Overall stats, stamina LV3, strength LV4, agility LV6, magic power LV4. Overall rating, a Chinibu who was blackened by a special occasion. It is recommended that you don't get involved with him. Most of the Chinibu that appeared in Ways of Survival committed suicide because they couldn't endure the nightmare that had become real. However, the Chinibu before me, Kim Namwon, was different. He was the delusion demon, Kim Namwon. The young man, who later became known by this nickname, wasn't an ordinary Chuyuni. This young man had been waiting for the destruction of the world for a long time and adapted to this world at an unusual speed. Team up with me. How about it? That young man was now making an offer to me. The character, Kim Namwon, has a favorable impression of you. Your understanding of the character, Kim Namwon, has increased. My immediate survival was guaranteed if I held hands with Kim Namwon. If I hadn't read Ways of Survival, my choice might have been a little different. I'm sorry, but I like to be alone. Really? It is regrettable. Kim Namwon licked his lips lightly and stood close to me. Then can you step aside? I have something to do with that old lady behind you. Hearing his words, I looked back to see that the bleeding and collapsed grandmother was barely breathing. What do you want? Do you have to ask? You aren't catching the insects? Insects? Why would I catch that? Kim Namwon laughed. I already have a caught insect in front of me. I could feel Kim Namwon's murderous spirit. The character that had only existed in the novel was facing me with vivid madness. Therefore, I felt a little bit in awe. Kim Namwon was really the person I had imagined. The character, Kim Namwon, has a slight decrease in favorability. What are you looking at? Aren't you going to move aside quickly? It is tough. What? I won't move aside. Are you now going to imitate the Apostle of Justice? Do you have multiple personalities? I didn't answer. A dark shadow slowly crept onto Kim Namwon's face, and his shining eyes were becoming cold. No, wait a minute. Did you throw the net over there to do this from the beginning? Really? You want to save the grandmother? Ha ha ha. Amazing. Really amazing. No? Yes? I still didn't answer. As I looked closely at this guy, old memories resurfaced. It turns out that you are the type of person I hate the most. All old bastards are the same. They were memories of all the times I had been frustrated by this brat during Ways of Survival. The character, Kim Namwon, despises you. What did you say? I considered the timing and lowered my head, avoiding the fist that flew before the words were even over. Oh, not bad. Despite knowing it was coming, I felt a sense of heat from above my head. It wasn't an ordinary punch. Blackening LV.1. A dark aura rose from Kim Namwon's whole body. This was the exclusive skill of the Chinibu attribute. It was rare to release a skill before the end of the first scenario, but Kim Namwon was already showing a skill. There was a reason why the main character had recruited him, despite his psychopath nature. Piak. After he hit it, my right shoulder spasmed. There was no way to win if I kept fighting this way. Should I use that now? I was calculating the time when I heard a message. Your understanding of the character, Kim Namwon, has increased. You are close to the conditions of use for the exclusive skill Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint LV1. Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint? What was this? The conditions of use for the exclusive skill Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint LV1 have been reached. Kim Namwon's fist missed me and struck the ground. What? Haven't I become stronger? A faint fist mark was left on the ground. Kim Namwon was realizing his current strength little by little. Quang, quang, quang. The fist that could break a bone with a single blow kept hitting the ground. Kim Namwon was frustrated and couldn't control his temper. Why can't I hit you? Of course, he couldn't hit me. It was all thanks to my second skill. Exclusive skill, Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint LV1 has been activated. As soon as this skill was activated, I was able to observe Kim Namwon's attack direction like I was reading his inner thoughts. For example, like this. Right side. I quickly moved away from the direction of the attack. Right eye. Then I quickly bent down and avoided the flying fist. You really are good at not being hit. It was unreasonable to counterattack because I was poor at sports, but I could at least avoid most of the attacks. Left thigh. This was enough to endure it. The important thing was to buy time. I avoided Kim Namwon's first and pointed at the clock in the air. There are 2 minutes left, kid. The distressed Kim Namwon alternated looking between me and the grandmother. Damn it. At the moment of choice, Kim Namwon's gaze was fixed on the grandmother's side. I was forced to grab the grandmother and roll away. If the grandmother died, Kim Namwon would clear the scenario. No matter what, I absolutely couldn't send this guy on to the next scenario. Huh, I knew you would move like that. As Kim Namwon took something out of his bag, I had an ominous feeling. A blade shone in the fluorescent light. It was a portable MacGyver knife. I had forgotten. This person was a die-hard military otaku. Swayek. There was a link between the technical skill knife fighting and the strengthening skill blackening. The direction that the blade was pointing was obvious. Heart. It was an attack that couldn't be avoided even if I knew the direction. So, I made a quick judgment. If I couldn't avoid the attack, it was better to be hit somewhere with minimal damage, if possible. Chiik. The blade narrowly missed my heart and made a deep cut on my shoulder. It hurt. It really hurt. There was a searing pain in my skin. My vision shook, and it felt like death was approaching. Huh, now die. The time remaining to the end of the scenario was 1 minute and 30 seconds. I glanced toward the grandmother. I was sorry for the grandmother, but now I really had to use that. Chungil High School, 2nd year, Kim Namwon. I have one question for you. What? Do you think an insect egg is a living thing? I took out the body of the grasshopper I had killed earlier from my pocket. The plump egg sac was clearly abundant. There was the sound of something popping, and something fluid spilled out. The disgusting feeling spread over my hand as I heard a message. You have killed a living thing. 100 coins have been earned as additional compensation. You have killed a living thing. 100 coins have been earned as additional compensation. Multiple messages bombarded my ears. Kim Namwon frowned. Insect egg? What are you suddenly saying? Are you trying to waste time? I guess so. How would I know something like that? I was always sleeping in biology class. Kim Namwon looked at my bloody shoulder and laughed happily. But there is one thing I know for sure. Do you know what it is? What is it? You will die right now. Kim Namwon moved his Swiss knife before I could answer. It was an attack that was hard to avoid. A large number of coins has been acquired. Do you want to check the coin usage tips? I omitted the explanation that entered my ears. There was no need to listen when I already knew the contents. No, it is you who will die, I spat out while inwardly muttering something else. 2,700 coins have been invested into stamina. Stamina LV1 Stamina LV10. Your stamina level has increased dramatically. The durability of your body has greatly increased. Kim Namwon's knife penetrated toward my heart. To be exact, it looked like it was penetrating. My skin was like solid rock, and the only thing that remained on it was a scratch. Kim Namwon's eyes showed that he was astonished. How? I'll tell you the correct answer to my question. The answer is, an egg is a living thing. What? And in spawning season, grasshoppers lay more than 100 eggs at a time. Egg, living thing, 100. Unfortunately, the time left to understand the meaning of the information was too short for the schoolboy with a bad brain. What are you saying? It doesn't matter if you don't understand. There is 1 minute left. Now fear appeared on Kim Namwon's face. Die. Die. The knife moved toward my neck. I didn't even bother defending against the attack. Kakakang. Was it because the area was more vulnerable than the chest? The wound was a little deeper than before, but it still didn't hurt much. Kim Namwon. Behind Kim Namwon, there were people who were still crawling and looking for insects, as well as those who were willing to hurt each other for their own survival. You are right. I am the same type of human as you. Maybe I could have saved some of those people. Shit. Why won't you die? Why won't you just die? 55 seconds. 50 seconds. 45 seconds. The knife kept leaving only scratches. Blood flowed but the blade couldn't reach under the skin. There were 30 seconds left and Kim Namwon opened his mouth. He dropped the knife and knelt before me. Save me. 25 seconds. Save me. Please. Help me. Why should I? 20 seconds. People's lives are important. That's obvious. That is the rule of the old world. It is just as you said. A new world requires new laws. 10 seconds. I don't want to. I don't want to die. 5 seconds. Kim Namwon ran at me with a loud scream and aimed for my eye. The moment that the knife tried to dig at my retina. The given time has run out. There was a loud sound, and Kim Namwon's head exploded. Paid settlement will begin. Beginning with Kim Namwon, people's heads started exploding everywhere. 1, 2, 3, 4. The bursting heads were like fireworks announcing a new era. I watched the scene with a bit of joy, a bit of guilt, and a mysterious feeling. Why? Why was I so calm at the sight in front of me? It was like I was looking at a novel. You have killed 124 living things. Kill history, 1 grasshopper, 123 grasshopper eggs. You have killed non-resistance living things, so the number of coins you have acquired is reduced by half. 6,200 coins have been acquired. The number of coins used for the stats level up is automatically subtracted. You have a total of 3,500 coins. The mass murderer achievement has been gained through excessive killing. My face could be seen on the darkened window of the carriage. It was a face I had never seen before, despite looking into the mirror countless times in my life. I wiped at the blood on my cheeks. The blood wasn't erased. It turned out to be blood on the window. Keek. There was a lurching feeling, and the train started to move again. It made the familiar train noise. Soon, light flooded in, and darkness was lifted from the windows. We had arrived at the surface ground section of Line 3 between Apgujeong and Oksu. Outside the window, the Han River and Seoul were revealed. Ah! Someone let out a moan. It was a moan which contained deep relief that they survived. However, it didn't take long for the meaning of that moan to change. Ah. The landscape outside the window was no longer the Seoul that they knew. Smoke and dust rose from the ruined city. The Han River bridges had collapsed. The Han River itself was red with the bodies of soldiers, while among the fallen buildings, a monster was trampling on a K-1 tank like it was a toy. Main scenario number 1, proof of value has ended. 300 coins have been acquired as a basic clearance reward. 100 coins have been reduced for the channel usage fee. Additional compensation settlement will begin. One world was destroyed, and a new world was born. And I was the only reader who knew the ending of this world. Previous chapter. The subway stopped around halfway past Dongo Bridge. Oh my god. Several survivors stood up and looked at the scene taking place outside. The ruined Seoul and collapsed buildings. Monsters reminiscent of a giant snake were eating the wreckage of a fighter jet that had crashed into the Han River. What the hell? I recognized their identity at once. An ichthyosaur. A monster that was commonly called a sea serpent. It would later be classified as a grade 7 monster in the world of ways of survival. One of the ichthyosaurs looked in this direction. Yuyuwa. It is coming. People screamed with fright. But I just looked apathetically at the approaching ichthyosaur. These guys couldn't be a threat. Kurururung. The ichthyosaur circled around the bottom of Dongo Bridge and vanished into an air bubble. In the world of ways of survival, scenarios took precedence over anything else. As long as we were protected by the scenario, we wouldn't have to deal with such monsters straight away. At least for now. Compensation settlement is delayed due to an unexpected scenario check. Please wait. The compensation settlement should have started right now, but only an error message floated in the air. It was probably due to me. I looked down at Kim Namwon's body, which only had the torso remaining. According to the original ways of survival, Kim Namwon killed most of the people in this carriage and moved on to the next scenario. But I stopped it. If my thoughts were right, those who would be angry at Kim Namwon's death would appear. Here. Not here. They were in the sky above. Due to the death of character, Kim Namwon, 2 constellations show a faint hostility to you. Constellations. They were mysterious beings in ways of survival. They sat watching from the distant nebulas and were the masterminds of this tragedy. Once the constellation's preferences sign appeared, I realized that it was now starting in earnest. It was funny. A day ago, our positions were opposite. Now they were the ones watching me. A handful of constellations admire your scenario. The constellations have sponsored you 500 coins. If there were some constellations who disliked me, there would also be some who liked me. Either way, it was an uncomfortable situation. However, I couldn't do anything about them right now. It was my turn to be a clown. I picked up Kim Namwon's Swiss knife on the ground and thought. Feel free to watch. You will end up paying the admission fee with your lives. Dr. SSI? Are you okay? I looked up and saw Yusanga's face. Her shoulders were sagging. Blood covered her white blouse and there was a run in her stockings. There was no more of the Yusanga I knew. I held Yusanga's hand and said. I'm sorry. I couldn't save the grandmother. I looked down at the body of the grandmother, missing its head. I didn't know the name of the grandmother. In the future, many people would die in this manner. Yusanga looked at me with a complicated gaze. How is Dr. SSI so? Yes? Ah, it is nothing. Rather. Thank you. What do you mean? That, I belatedly thought back to the previous scene. I had thrown the net in Yusanga's direction. I knew what she was thinking. It was just a coincidence. It won't happen twice. Yusanga nodded silently. She didn't know the truth, but she was smart. She knew what I meant. Someone lived because of my choice and someone else died. No matter who survived, I didn't deserve a thank you. Wow, amazing. The Takibi appeared in the air. What on earth happened here? I was just watching the other carriages. There was a mixture of delight and surprise on the Takibi's face. Twinkling stars floated over the Takibi's head. I counted the number of stars. 1, 2, 3. 20, 21. 21 in total. He would be happy. For 21 people to be connected to my channel. Isn't this quite good? Gosh, thank you for your sponsorship. Constellations. Everyone. Did you properly show off your value? The number of stars meant the number of constellations connected to the channel. 21 wasn't a lot, but it was a strange number for a beginner Takibi. The number of survivors is quite high. The fellow in the next carriage was a nutter as well. It seems that things are quite interesting today. The Takibi manipulated something in the air. A moment later, a list of survivors came up. Survivors from the 3434 train to Bulgwang, carriage 3807, Kim Dokja, Lee Hyun-sung, Yu Sanga, Han Myung-go and Lee Gil-young. A total of 5 survivors. 5 people. More people than I thought survived. I looked at the faces of the survivors one by one. Lee Hyun-sung had a good physique and excellent motor skills, so it was expected that he would survive. I even expected Yu Sanga to a certain extent. In addition, Lee Gil-young. If my guess was right, Lee Gil-young was the name of the boy standing next to me. The fluids from the crushed grasshopper was still on the boy's hands. It was the grasshopper I had squeezed. The boy was looking at his mother, who lost her head. The boy's mother had abandoned him to join in on killing the grandmother. The boy had just watched the whole thing from beginning to end. I hesitated for a moment before touching the boy's shoulder. It wasn't foolish sympathy. To put it simple, this was. That's right. Hypocrisy. Kid. The boy slowly turned his head and in his eyes, I could see the fear of death that he encountered for the first time in his life. Unavoidable instincts. This boy wasn't grieving his mother's death. He was just afraid of his own death. It was natural. He was human. Do you want to live? The boy's eyes shook anxiously. His body trembled with a force that couldn't be resisted. Then little by little, the boy's head moved. Then let's go together. Lee Gil-young moved slowly and came close to my legs. Yu Sanga was watching me with an impressed expression. I unintentionally caused another misunderstanding. In fact, it was meant to be seen. But the target wasn't Yu Sanga. A few constellations are impressed with your good deed. The constellations have sponsored you 200 coins. I couldn't help thinking that it was a low move. But I also wanted to live. Given the upcoming major events, it was essential to draw the attention of the constellations right now. Will you release us now? Didn't you get what you wanted? Han Myung-go in a torn shirt shouted from half a dozen steps away. Department head Han Myung-go. He was a lucky human. But I couldn't help wondering. Why was Han Myung-go riding the subway when he had so much money? This was the man who had shown off a new S-Class Mercedes-Benz not long ago. Released? Haven't you seen outside? Do you really want to go out there? The Takibi chuckled. It is somehow admirable. In fact, I didn't expect much from this carriage, but you managed to pass the first scenario. This proves that bugs deserve to survive. His words made us realize our position. Maybe we were like grasshoppers in his eyes. Now, shouldn't there be a reward for overcoming the hardships? As a reward for the first scenario, you are entitled to the sponsorship of the constellations. Wah! How about it? Aren't you looking forward to it? You are all unenthusiastic. This is really a big deal. The reaction was natural. I was the only one here who knew what constellation or sponsorship was. The sponsorship of the constellations. The meaning was obvious. One of the key events of Ways of Survival, sponsor selection, was about to begin. Everybody has confused expressions. I can easily tell you. Right now, you are incredibly weak. If you are thrown into the scenarios that will take place, you will be killed when you meet a weak ground rat, let alone a crook. But kindly, there are some great people in the universe who pity you and would like to sponsor you. Do you understand what I am saying? Lee Hyun-sung finally couldn't stand it anymore and opened his mouth. What are you saying? Who is sponsoring whom? My words are just entering dirty ears. Isn't there an old saying in South Korea? It is better to see it once than listen 100 times. So experience it directly. Well, the less fortunate ones might not get the chance. Ha. I was tense. From now on. A good choice here would make my survival in the future easier. Dr. SSI. 2 strange choices suddenly appeared in front of me. I don't know even if you ask me. This was naturally a lie to avoid suspicions. By the way, there were 2 choices. Yu Sanga was quite lucky. Do it comfortably. Think of it as an aptitude test. Aptitude test. Nobody knows what the situation is anyway. Why not do it comfortably? I understand. Yu Sanga closed her mouth and started staring into space. It was a profound expression, as if she had encountered something curious. The others suddenly became silent. Everyone was reading the options in front of them. I also had my own choices to look at. Sponsor selection. Please select your sponsor. Your chosen sponsor will be your strong supporter. Abyssal Black Flame Dragon Demon-like Judge of Fire, secretive plotter, prisoner of the Golden Headband. There were 4 choices like a riddle. It meant there were 4 constellations that wanted to turn me into their incarnation. 4 choices wasn't small considering that the protagonist of Ways of Survival received 5 options the first time. The constellations never revealed their true name. Therefore, all contractors must infer the identity of the constellations by words such as abyssal, demonic, and garden. Of course, this puzzle was nothing to me, the sole reader of Ways of Survival. Let's see. First, the abyssal black flame dragon. According to my memory, this constellation was a powerful entity that led the group of constellations called the Black Cloud. I forgot his real name, but I remember it was a very long name. The advantage of this constellation was that the contractor could receive a very strong attack power. In the early days when stamina and strength were in urgent need, there was no constellation as strong as the abyssal dark flame dragon. Of course, that was limited to the beginning. As the power of this constellation was more frequently used, the mind became corrupted and the contractor would become a mad murderer. This constellation usually sponsored the people with the Chuyuni attribute. I didn't know why the constellation picked me. I felt uncomfortable and excluded this guy. The second one, the demon-like judge of fire. I can't believe I was actually seeing this option. Somehow, the strong emotions I felt were enormous. At first glance, the name was overflowing with evil. But this was actually a trap for the wicked. The demon-like actually meant not a demon. Then the words fire and judge were added. A being who wasn't a demon and who made judgments through fire. Paradoxically, the master of this constellation was an angel. If I recalled corrected, it was Archangel Uriel. In fact, I remembered this because someone in the novel picked this constellation as a sponsor. It was a pretty decent choice. This was pending. The constellations of absolute good imposed ridiculous constraints if you wanted to use their enormous power. The third, secretive plotter. It was the first time that I, the sole reader of Ways of Survival, had seen this choice. This name might have been mentioned in passing, but I didn't know it right now. If I could read Ways of Survival more thoroughly, then I might get a feel of the constellation. But I was certain that the owner of this constellation wasn't a very strong entity. Apart from the obvious modifier, there wasn't one proper noun. Secretive plotter, it was too simple for a constellation. This one was also pending. Finally, there was Prisoner of the Golden Headband. My heart jumped the moment I saw the fourth option. I didn't expect this constellation so early. I doubted my eyes several times. But it was unmistakably Prisoner of the Golden Headband. At first glance, this name gave off a negative image due to the word prisoner. But you had to pay attention to Golden Headband. Golden Headband. The smallest prison in the world. It was a hint that anyone would recognize if they enjoyed reading Journey to the West as a child. There was only one prisoner who was held captive by the Golden Headband in the journey from east to west. The master of the mountain of flowers and fruit, who lived in suffering due to the shackle on his head. The handsome monkey king with the golden gaze, fiery eyes. The great sage, the equal of heaven, Sun Wukong. Among the characters that appeared in the novel, there was one supported by Sun Wukong. A wondrous power that could sweep through hundreds of incarnations and to kill thoughts with one lightning strike. The author had described this part with a lot of energy, so my memory of it was clear. I didn't know why such a powerful constellation was showing me interest, but if I became the incarnation of the great sage, the equal of heaven, I would be able to survive in this new world more easily than anyone else. But I quickly looked at the door connected to the carriage in front. Beyond that door, he was looking at the selection screen like me. If I chose the great sage, the equal of heaven, could I win against him? There is 1 minute left to complete the sponsor selection. Time was running out. I breathed lightly and looked through my options. My worries didn't last long. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Comments. Tip. Omniscient Reader's View. Situation. Exclusive skills in the attributes window. A game-like interface. Is there anyone who still hasn't caught on to facts? Indeed, no one raised their hand. South Korea was easy. Due to the high penetration rate of smartphones, there wasn't one person who hadn't played a RPG game. Even if they didn't play a game, they would have read a fantasy novel at least once. Lee Hyun-sung sighed. This is like a novel I was reading while standing on duty, but I still can't feel it. This really isn't a dream. This is reality. My stern answer caused Lee Hyun-sung's eyes to slightly change. The character, Lee Hyun-sung, feels a faint trust in you. Your understanding of the character, Lee Hyun-sung, has increased. Lee Hyun-sung nodded. It is good that you are certain. Then what do we do now? Dr. SSI, do you have an opinion? We have to go. I answered without hesitation. Jigo? Are you insane? Dr. SSI, I don't think. This time, Yu Sanga joined it. It seemed everyone still hadn't woken up. Then how long we will stay here? In fact, my argument didn't make much sense. Outside was a heaven of monsters. But I knew. Right now, we have to get out of here. Have you thought about your parents? Do you think your parents are safe in this mess? The line has been dead for some time. No Kako talk. Yu Sanga cried out desperately. Indeed, Confucianism was still strong in South Korea. Even Lee Hyunsung and Han Myunggo's expressions darkened at the word parents. I grasped Lee Gilyang's shoulder, whose head was bowed. The first person to get up was Yu Sanga. Go. I will go out. And no. Didn't you hear what that thing said? Take a break here. If we move then our heads might explode. Let's take a majority vote. Yu Sanga raised her hand first, followed by me and Lee Gilyang. But it was up to there. I have to go to my base, but it seems dangerous to move in this situation. There was also the warning. Shit, you all go by yourselves. I'm not going. I'm not going outside. I didn't care about Han Myunggo, but the problem was Lee Hyunsung. I had to take Lee Hyunsung with me no matter what. Kwang. The thick iron plate made a loud sound. The iron door to carriage 3707 was slightly distorted. NOV-L-B//JNN. W what? Han Myunggo's cry was ignored as the iron door made a deafening sound again. Kwang. Someone was trying to break the door from beyond it. This was an unexpected situation, so I had to think. Was it the next scenario? No. The Dakibi hadn't come back yet. Then. My brain moved quickly. Small hairs stood up and a short shiver struck my body. That guy. W what? Everybody stop it. Han Myunggo shouted and moved towards the door. Lee Hyunsung moved towards it as well, but I stopped him. You can't stop it. Huh. We have to go. I looked at the iron door with heavy eyes. Huh. But. If we don't go now. The only survivor of carriage 3707. I was well aware of who was beyond the iron door. We will all die before the next scenario arrives. Yes, that guy was finally coming. The real protagonist of this story. Previous chapter. Next chapter. I stared straight into Lee Hyunsung and Han Myunggo's eyes and said. Do you want to die from that guy beyond the iron door, or do you want to try your luck outside the train? Which one will you choose? Dr. SSI, is there any guarantee that the person beyond the iron door is an enemy? The steel sword appeared at the crucial moment. There was a reason why Lee Hyunsung couldn't be leader of a party. Since they are coming from another carriage, it is likely to be a survivor. If we meet. I looked at the bloody room instead of continuing. Lee Hyunsung followed my gaze and quietly spoke. I was too careless. Let's find a way out. Go. Go quickly. At this moment, both people were aware. The other survivors of the carriages would have gone through the same thing as them. They wouldn't have the good luck of finding insects. This is broken. Damn, we can't go this way. While listening to Lee Hyunsung and Han Myunggo's cries, I also checked the doors. There were no more barriers, so the doors could now be touched. Apart from the doors connecting the passageways, there were a total of 8 access doors on the subway. There were 3 exits that hadn't been confirmed yet. Kung. The iron door seemed like it could barely hold on for 1 minute. Despite being the main character, I didn't think he would have such high strength in the beginning. I was honestly surprised that he could break such a thick iron door. Dr. SSI. Here. I found a working manual switchgear. No. The opening and closing device worked smoothly, but the door didn't open at once. The door opened around 1/5 before stopping like it was jammed. It seems to be broken here as well. How about other places? This seems to be the only place where we can escape. It was unknown for a child. But the gap was too narrow for men and women to escape. Han Myunggo and Lee Hyunsung tried to pull the doors open, but they didn't move a bit. Coins possessed, 4,700 C. One of the uses of the coins was to raise overall stats. I had already used 2,700 coins to make my stamina level 10. This problem could be resolved if I used the remaining coins to enhance my strength. But it wasn't wise to use the coins when the situation was unknown. In the end, there was only one way. Lee Hyunsung SSI. Use a skill. Skill. I quietly activated character list. The exclusive skill, character list, is activated. Character information. Name, Lee Hyunsung. Age, 28 years old. Constellation sponsor, Master of Steel. Private attribute, soldier who turned a blind eye to injustice, general. Exclusive skills, bayonet skills LV2, camouflage LV2, patience LV2. Stigma, great mountain push LV1. Overall stats, stamina LV8, strength LV8, agility LV7, magic power LV5. Overall evaluation, the overall stats are very good. Despite turning away from injustice, he received the choice of a constellation. This is another opportunity for him. Lee Hyunsung's information came to my mind without any restrictions. Fortunately, the sponsor was the same as what I read in Ways of Survival. You should have checked it when you opened the attributes window. Lee Hyunsung is a soldier, so there must be a skill you can use in this situation. Well, I have one, but how do I use it? Just think about using the skill. Will that work? It will. I did it earlier. Lee Hyunsung didn't say anything else as he took a deep breath of determination. Hop. Lee Hyunsung's biceps swelled as he grabbed the door. It was the appearance of Great Mountain Push. In fact, Great Mountain Push wasn't a skill but a stigma. And a stigma was a power from the constellation. I used the word skill in order to avoid suspicions. Do-do-do-do. There was a sound like a huge spring turning and the door started to move. What? This guy has real strength. That's it. It is really great. The character Lee Hyun-sung has started to trust you. Your understanding of the character Lee Hyun-sung has increased. Rather than doubts, my reliability had risen. Lee Hyun-sung was a simpler person than I thought. Come on, get off. But I felt relieved. I handed Lee Gil-young to Lee Hyun-sung. Lee Hyun-sung SSI. Carry the child on your back. I understand. Now the iron door was almost broken. But if my prediction was right, the problem right now wasn't that iron door. This is really. I knew this would happen. Didn't I saw it earlier? I told you not to go anywhere, damn. The scenario isn't ready yet dash. The Dakibi seemed to be angry as it floated over Dongo Bridge. Wah. I knew this would happen. I told you not to come out. Han Myung-go wrapped a hand around his head, like he thought it would explode. But there was no need to worry. Sigh, it can't be helped. You are really lucky humans. It was because the second scenario started the moment the train door was opened. The second scenario has arrived. Plus. Second scenario, escape. Category, sub. Difficulty, D. Clear conditions, cross the broken bridge and enter Oksu Station. Time limit, 20 minutes. Compensation, 200 coins. Failure? Plus. Dr. SSI, something is strange. It says the broken bridge, but the bridge is still. Don't worry and just run. Quickly. You understood. In fact, Yusango was right. The bridge hadn't been broken yet. In other words, the bridge was going to be broken. Dr. SSI, come quickly. I'm coming. It hadn't been broken yet because we got off the train too soon. The Dakibi said the preparation time was 10 minutes. But we escaped 3 minutes earlier. Some people might call it cowardly, but this scenario couldn't be cleared without such a shortcut. Especially if I was stuck with burdens such as Yusanga and Lee Gil-young. Pant, pant. Indeed, Lee Hyun-sung SSI is a soldier and has high stamina. Don't open your mouth. You will lose strength. Lee Hyun-sung was running first with the kid. He was a natural monster who didn't invest any coins in his stats, yet the sum of his strength, stamina and agility exceeded 23. The next one was Han Myung-go and then Yusanga with me in the rear. It would be close, but I thought we could make it in time. What is that? At this time, Han Myung-go's scream was heard. There was a huge whirlpool in the center of Han River, letting out splashes of water. And a giant monster was at the center of the splashes. An ichthyosaur. The problem was that the ichthyosaur seemed to be twice the size of the one I saw through the window. This wasn't a sea serpent, it was a sea commander. A general sea serpent was only a grade 7 monster. Given that a grade 9 monstrous land rate was difficult for normal humans to cope with, an average human would be torn apart by a grade 7 monster. In other words, the guy coming now wasn't a monster that could be caught in the early stages. Of course, there was no need to catch it. It wasn't created to be caught. Coo 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 coo. The Han River surged like there was a tsunami and the ichthyosaur moved. It was chewing on the legs of the bridge. The bridge is breaking. Run. If we run then we can cross it. The remaining distance was around 200 meters. If my calculations were correct, we could cross before the bridge collapsed at our current speed. NOV/L/B/JNN. There is no fun if the game is too easy. Of course, this was a story for when there were no variables. The scenario difficulty has been adjusted. Scenario difficulty, E-D. The sound of the Dakibi's laughter was heard. Is there any fun if you just run away? Let's create a bit of atmosphere. The evil thoughts of the dead have returned. The surrounding earth is filled with black ether. The demonic people have woken up. There was the sound of something chasing us from behind. Yusanga muttered to herself. Zombies? Zombie-like bodies were coming in huge waves. Some of them were people from the same carriage as us. We just need to go a little further. Quickly. The distance to the ichthyosaur was now less than 100 meters. Fortunately, Lee Hyun-sung carried Lee Gil-young and had crossed the safety line. The problem was the rest of us, including me. Han Myung-go shrieked. Why you bastards? There were too many demonic people. If there were only corpses from the subway, we might have gotten away. The problem was. Kuiu. The drivers who died on the bridge became demonic people. The path that Lee Hyun-sung broke through was covered with demonic people. I looked between the demonic people on the road and the approaching ichthyosaur. Everybody get down. It was too late. Kwaang. The legs of the bridge shook tremendously as the ichthyosaur's huge mouth bit it. The scales of the ichthyosaur shone through the dust that poured down onto Han River like rain. A fishy smell of blood and water filled the area. I staggered and raised my body. Once the dust went away, the scenery around me was clear. Piles of shattered concrete and cut steel. The carcasses of the demonic people which the ichthyosaur had cleanly bitten through. The broken leg of the bridge. Dok, S.I.K. Yusanga and Han Myung-go raised their bodies from a little further away. One of Han Myung-go's legs seemed injured and uncomfortable from the previous quake. Lee Hyun-sung and Lee Gil-young cried out from across the bridge, but their voices seemed blocked by the safety zone. What should I do? I made plans on the basis of the bridge breaking. But I hadn't expected Han Myung-go and Yu Sang-ga to be with me. At that moment, a voice was heard in the air. Someone has received the favor of a constellation. The constellation scenario Deus Ex Machina has been activated. Along with the voice, a brilliant bridge made of light was created among the remnants of the broken Dongo bridge. Then a message floated in front of me. Plus. Deus Ex Machina, even bridge. Description, a bridge of light made by a constellation. Only an even number of people can cross the bridge. The bridge will disappear as soon as an odd number of people tries to cross it. Plus. Dr. SSI. This, in my head, suddenly. I met the eyes of Yu Sang-ga, who was talking nonsense. I could roughly guess the situation. Deus Ex Machina. Constellations risked a huge loss by intervening in scenarios. It is Yu Sang-ga SSI's sponsor. I didn't know what constellation it was, but somebody had chosen Yu Sang-ga as their incarnation and wanted her to live. Deus Ex Machine was a rare phenomenon in ways of survival. And Yu Sang-ga was a person who should have already died. I had a moment of doubt. What type of constellation was behind Yu Sang-ga? The information of this person can't be read in character list. This person isn't registered in character list. I was a bit surprised. I couldn't see her with my skill. Why? Did she have a special background? Or did she have a mental barrier? But if she had something like that from the beginning, no, wait a minute. Perhaps this was. Dr. SSI, what do we do now? I heard Yu Sang-ga's bewildered voice. I didn't have much time to think. Coo. The Han River was swirling. The ichthyosaur had eaten one bridge leg and was turning its huge body around on the other side of Han River. I bit my lips and once again read the explanation of the bridge. Only an even number of people could cross the bridge. In the end, Deus Ex Machina was a toy made by the damn constellations who loved tragedies. There was no way for everyone to survive. Han Myung-go's body was shaking as his eyes met mine. In the end, somebody must die. Previous chapter. Next chapter, shouted. Dr. SSI. Behind you. I reflexively leaned forward as a bloody fist came flying through the air. It was a familiar fist covered with energy. I felt something falling towards me and instinctively kicked out. I didn't need to look back to know what was behind me. A grade 9 human type, demonic person. Human mutants infected with black ether. That's why demonic people were classified as a high-risk species, despite being grade 9. Demonic people made from a normal human base were no different from zombies, but it was particularly dangerous if their hosts were different. I saw the badge of the school student with a damaged head. Kim Namwon. The guy whose head burst a few minutes ago was now aiming for me as a demonic person. Kim Namwon's vocal cords that burst out were in a bizarre shape. Kuiyu. Exclusive skill, Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint LV1 has been activated. This person doesn't have any consciousness. The skill Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint will be cancelled. Damn, it was as expected. Chwack. My thigh was scratched by Kim Namwon's overgrown black fingernails. A pain that felt like a burn spread through my leg. The skin which hadn't been cut by a knife was now torn by fingernails. This was the main reason why demonic people were dangerous. The demonic people became several times stronger than when they were human. Yu Sang-ga SSI, immediately. I felt something as I spoke. Without looking back, I could see what was going on. Let me go. Let go. Dr. SSI. Dr. SSI. Han Myung-go, who had just been limping, was carrying Yu Sang-ga over one shoulder and moving across the bridge at an astonishing rate. The constellation, secretive plotter, admires how easy you are to fool. The constellation, demon-like judge of fire, is impressed with your sacrifice. 100 coins have been sponsored. Indeed. Planning to leave me? By the way he was running was a little strange. Despite being on one leg, he was running as fast as an Olympic athlete. This couldn't be the exclusive skill of Han Myung-go, who had a big belly. Therefore, it must be the stigma of his sponsor. The one-legged swift horse. And I already knew the constellation who provided that stigma. I used character list on the distant Han Myung-go. The information of this person can't be read in character list. Once again, character list didn't work properly. If I remembered correctly, the stigma of one-legged swift horse came from the constellation Lame Trickster. Lame Trickster didn't give any stigmas in the mental barrier system. In addition, Han Myung-go couldn't possess such a skill from the beginning. In other words, my skill failed not because of Han Myung-go's ability. I was stupid. I looked at the message window floating in front of me and laughed. This person isn't registered in character list. I was thinking too hard when it meant literally that. Character list literally read the information of characters. Yu Sang-ga and Han Myung-go were characters who didn't originally appear in Ways of Destruction. They were people who would have died if I hadn't saved them. It was natural that I couldn't confirm their information with character list. Gruck. 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 On one side, the incoming Kim Namwon and demonic people were jabbering nonsense at me. On the other side, Han Myung-go had already halfway crossed the bridge. Lee Hyun-sung and Lee Gil-young had already entered the safety zone across the bridge, so I couldn't ask for help from them. This was truly a predicament. I couldn't cross the bridge alone. My brain moved quickly. Should I capture one of the demonic people and cross the bridge? It was worth trying, but the success rate was too low. Unlike the name, the demonic people were categorized as non-human, meaning they didn't count as a person. Kwayak. Several demonic people lost their balance and fell down the bridge. Quajajijic. The fallen demonic people became the food of the ichthyosaurs. Like piranhas, the ichthyosaurs broke the demonic people into dozens of pieces in an instant. Distant fear came flooding back in. If the number of people on the bridge became odd for even a moment, I would be like them. It was impossible to cross alone. Then? Let's take it slow. I muttered as I attempted to control myself. Right now, I needed to remain calm. There were still a few usable methods, but the important thing was to handle matters in front of me. I controlled my breathing and walked to the demonic people. Kawiak. Fortunately, it wasn't difficult to make the fall down the bridge using inertia. Kayak, Kwajijik. I reduced the numbers by making them fall steadily. The Dakibi stopwatch floating in the air was blinking. The time remaining before the scenario ended was 15 minutes. Sigh. Nails flew from a blind spot and pierced my shoulder bone. No matter how calm my mind, no matter how much information I knew, I couldn't help my untrained body. Kawook. The wild Kim Namwon's attacks were becoming increasingly faster. Left shoulder. The right thigh. The top of the head. I had to break the flow. I barely avoided the flying fingernails and kicked his legs. Kaya. But this person lost all senses and wasn't hurt at all. I stepped back, hitting a broken steel frame. I could hear the raging sound of the ichthyosaurs at the bottom of the pillars. A few constellations are rejoicing in your adversity. The constellations have sponsored you 200 coins. It was a steady accumulation of coins. Now I held 5,000 coins. It was a significant number of coins for the beginning. Wow, you are quite good at surviving. Now. Will any constellations help this poor friend? It was the Dakibi's merchant-like voice. I wanted to tear it apart. Geez, there is really nobody? Of course. It would be strange for a constellation to support me after what happened during the sponsor selection. What did I say? You should have chosen well when you had the change. How pitiful. Kim Namwon attacked me again and again, resulting in damage to my waist. Of course, I also injured Kim Namwon's left side with the knife. Thanks to that, his stomach was hanging out like a skipping rope. In order to kill a demonic person, I had to completely destroy the heart. But the skin of a demonic person was hardest near the heart. The Swiss knife wasn't able to pierce it with sharpness alone. Damn it, it wouldn't be so hard if I had just one combat skill. The exclusive skill, bookmark, is activated. NOVLB //JNN. Bookmark. Character bookmarks is activated. Available bookmark slots, 3. Bringing up the list of available bookmarks. People listed in the bookmark slots. The Delusion Demon Kim Namwon, understanding 25, Steel Sword Lee Hyunsung, understanding 35, empty slot. Bookmark. I've read over 3,000 chapters of Ways of Survival and I never saw this skill name before. But I intuitively knew how to use it. Activate bookmark number 1. There was the feelings of pages turning in my head. It was the scenes of Kim Namwon in Ways of Destruction. Ha 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 ha. I'm full of strength. Die. 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 A new world requires new laws. Kim Namwon's memories crowded in and all of my muscle nerves started to tense up. The power of another person was spiking within me. The number 1 bookmark has been activated. The level of the bookmark skill is low, shortening the activation time. Activation time, 1 minute. 1 minute. That was enough. Your understanding of the character is low, so only a part of the character's skill is activated. Blackening LV.1 has been activated. Kim Namwon was breathing roughly as he rushed towards me. His body was covered with a black energy that was threatening me. I firmly placed strength on the heels of my feet and rushed towards Kim Namwon. If we had the same skill, I absolutely wouldn't lose. At this moment, I really was Kim Namwon. I was the crazy killer who ruled the world of Ways of Survival with the protagonist. In a situation where blackening was properly played, the delusion demon of the battlefield couldn't be easily beaten. Kayak. The Swiss knife cut through uncomfortable sensations. It tore through muscles and flesh. From the upper left arm to the heart. There was the sound of a whole human being cut up as Kim Namwon staggered. If he still had eyes, he would be glaring at me right now. Kill. Oh. D.E. The young man who felt pessimistic towards the world and dreamt of breaking away from it. If Ways of Survival hadn't started, he might have gone to university after sitting his CSAT and enjoyed campus life. Don't want to die. I watched Kim Namwon falling down the bridge without saying farewell. Despite him being a hated figure, I couldn't help feeling strange emotions. Your understanding of the character, Kim Namwon, has increased. The number 1 bookmark has been disabled. A surge of fatigue overcame me as the power went away. It was hard. Really. Kawook. There was 10 minutes remaining. There were still many demonic people moving about. It was unreasonable to take on so many even with LV-10 stamina. But from the beginning, I had no intention of taking care of them alone. It was a little late. He should appear around now. Quajik, Quajijijik. There was a crackling sound like he had been waiting. I knew it. I thought he would do reckless things in order to gain achievements and donations. Quajijik, crunch. It was obviously the sound of a person's flesh colliding with another body, but it sounded more like a mace crushing flesh. In fact, I had collected this much coins and thought it would be worth challenging the protagonist. But now I realized how mistaken I was. From the stationary train, the demonic people were thrown away in a straight line, as if a tank had rushed through. Was this really a scene caused by a human? Kayak? The headless demonic people realized that something was strange and started turning around. However, it was too late. Quajijik. The man destroyed all the demonic people threatening me and appeared in front of me. An overwhelming force without any weapons. He beat the demonic people with only 2 fists. I had prepared my mind in advance, but sweat still flowed down my back. Dealing with this guy? It was absolutely impossible. I couldn't win even if my overall stats rose by more than double what they were now. You, who are you? The man's cool gaze turned to me. I reflexively turned on character list in order to overcome the fear. The exclusive skill, character list, is activated. There is too much information about this person. Character list is converted to summary list. Character summary. Name, Yu Jonghyuk. Attribute, Regressor, 3rd turn, Myth, Pro Gamer, Rare. Exclusive skills, Sage's Eyes LV8, Hand-to-Hand Combat LV8, Weapons Training LV8, Mental Barrier LV5, Crowd Control LV5, Reasoning LV5, Lie Detection LV4. The list of exclusive skills continued endlessly. Before I could get to the end of the list, a rugged hand appeared and grabbed my neck. You, how the hell are you alive? The first way to survive in a ruined world. The one who proved that method was right in front of me. Regressor Yu Jonghyuk. The grand tragedy of this world began with this person. Previous chapter. Next chapter. It would be quite a ludicrous sight if anyone else saw it. A large adult man was being grabbed by the neck and hanging like a monkey. I could see Lee Hyunsung looking this way from across the bridge. His expression was anxious, but he couldn't actually see what was going on here. It was due to the safety ward. I could see over there, but they couldn't see here. Name. What? What is your name? Look at this indifferent way of talking, just like a main character. But it wasn't good to provoke him here. Kim Dokja. A strange name. I've heard that a lot. At this moment, my stomach sank in and felt turned inside out as Yu Jonghyuk's fist hit it. Ugh. Despite having skin that a knife bounced off, the attack was very painful. You have a solid body. Have you already mastered the use of coins? It is the same with you. Bam. There was a hit to my stomach again. I barely managed to swallow back a groan. This guy, the level of his strength was at least 15. It was at this scale despite only one main and one sub scenario occurring. Indeed, natural-born monsters were different. Stop the unnecessary answer. Only answer what I ask from now on. Understood? I didn't answer. I thought maybe this might happen. However, this was the worst situation that I desperately hoped would never happen. In the beginning, Yu Jonghyuk was more intimidating than any other figure. His personality had worn out after going through regression 3 times. His principles were cut away in order to maintain his sense of self. The current Yu Jonghyuk would never hesitate for the sake of his purpose. Your answer. I will. Use honorifics. What if I don't want to? This time, I raised both hands to block the fist. The pain felt like my bones had broken, but the shock was dissipated. Yu Jonghyuk's eyes widened like he was a bit surprised. The character, Yu Jonghyuk, is on guard against you. Then it didn't matter. I wasn't going to be a punching bag just because he was the main character. I'm sorry, but you are younger than me, pro gamer Yu Jonghyuk SSI. Therefore, you should be the one using honorifics. You know me? I know. I am the employee of a game company. It was a lie. Even if I worked for a game company, it was impossible to memorize the names of all professional gamers. In addition, until recently, Yu Jonghyuk was just a character in a novel. You are famous. At one time, I was a fan. Being famous was just a setting of the plot. However, it wasn't a lie that I was a fan. I liked, hated, grumbled and cheered Yu Jonghyuk on. That's why I stuck with Yu Jonghyuk for over 3,000 chapters. Fan. I haven't heard that in a long time. Yu Jonghyuk had a look of nostalgia in his eyes, like he was locked in his memories. However, it was only for a moment. N/O/vel/B/. I'll forgive your impudence this time. But your situation hasn't changed. I can see that. I looked down at my 2 legs swaying over a blank space. I have only one thing I want to ask. Ask. How did you survive on the subway? It was the question I expected. Will you spare me if I answer? I'll see. It was a lie. I could tell just by looking at his face. I was the only reader of ways of survival. Numerous possible repertoires were simulated in my head. What could I say to convince this damn regressor? Your understanding of the character, Yu Jonghyuk, is increasing. Your understanding of this person is already very high. Huh. The conditions of use for the exclusive skill Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint Stage 2 has been reached. Do you want to activate the exclusive skill? Then after a moment, I was able to read someone's thoughts like a waterfall in my head. Only Lee Hyun-sung and Kim Namwoon should have survived in that carriage. Yet Kim Namwoon died and the others survived. How did you survive? Who the hell is this guy? Dig up information. Then if I find any disturbing elements. Kill. A dense flicker of thoughts. It was obviously a crisis situation, but I couldn't prevent the corners of my mouth from going up. The time remaining until the scenario ended was 5 minutes. I started the story. I told the story using as much concise, short and accurate vocabulary as possible. It was from the first moment that the Takibi appeared in the subway to the end of the first scenario. Of course, I excluded the skills I got and any important issues. You cleared the scenario by killing insects? We were lucky. Yu Jong-hyuk was so surprised he seemed to have forgotten that his mouth was open. The future has completely changed. He was shocked. Originally, the people in carriage 3807 would kill each other in a battle royale, with only Lee Hyun-sung and Kim Namwoon surviving. You have keen eyes. How did you know there were insects in the carriage? Killing intent filled Yu Jong-hyuk's eyes as thoughts brushed through my head. Is this guy also a regressor? If so, I have to kill him right now. A person who commits a fault thinks that everyone speaks of it. I wasn't surprised that he misunderstood me. I quickly opened my mouth. An explosion. Explosion? I was able to find an insect due to an explosion from the carriage in front. Yu Jong-hyuk's body stopped at these words. Explain it in a simpler manner. When the explosion occurred, a kid fell and dropped his insect collecting net. I picked it up by chance. It is a suspicious coincidence. Coincidences are always suspicious. If you don't believe me, ask the people beyond the ward. The boy standing there dropped the net. Beyond the safety barrier on the way to Oksu Station, people were looking over at this side. The scenario wasn't over yet, so they couldn't approach or talk to us. Yu Jong-hyuk looked over but showed no signs of moving. His eyes changed and memories that seemed to belong to Yu Jong-hyuk crossed my mind. I see. Explosion. This guy isn't a regressor. He isn't the one who changed the future. Rather, the future changed. Because of me. I saw people dying painfully in a powerful explosion and Yu Jong-hyuk blankly watching it. It is because I started killing them, unlike the other turns. Due to the impact of omniscient reader's viewpoint, I could feel Yu Jong-hyuk's mental pain and suffering. Are your questions over? Yes. Then can you let me go? And let's go to Oksu together. There isn't much time remaining to clear the scenario. It is difficult. However, a protagonist was a protagonist for a reason. Everything you said makes perfect sense. I have never seen a protagonist as careful as Yu Jong-hyuk. A beginner can't be so calm. He is abnormally well adjusted to this changed world. He probably killed Kim Namwoon. He has gone beyond being useful to being dangerous. Yu Jong-hyuk's right eye started shining with a gold color. I quickly realized what he was doing. In fact, it would be weird if this guy didn't use that. Sage's Eyes. Yu Jong-hyuk's strongest detection skill. Sage's Eyes was the SS grade skill that showed the target's attributes window as well as hidden information. As long as he used it, I couldn't avoid revealing my identity. On the other hand, I thought it was a good thing. I still didn't know my attribute and skills. If Yu Jong-hyuk discovered my information, would also be able to know about myself. Then hopefully, I would be able to use the information I learned to escape this situation. The exclusive skill, Fourth Wall, is activated. Fourth Wall has detected the use of the detection skill Sage's Eyes. Sparks flew in the air and Yu Jong-hyuk's body staggered. Kook, what? Yu Jong-hyuk covered his right eye and watched me with confusion. What is your identity? I'm sorry, but I was wondering the same thing. The exclusive skill Fourth Wall has blocked Sage's Eyes. I didn't know that I had a skill that would defend against Sage's Eyes. After bookmark, it was Fourth Wall. This complicated things. Yu Jong-hyuk wouldn't believe me now. I must kill him here. He was a person who didn't trust what he didn't know. Yu Jong-hyuk. Then I also need to change plans. You need a reliable companion. What do you mean? You can't break through the 46th scenario alone. Shouldn't you be well aware of it? Yu Jong-hyuk's eyes narrowed. How do you know this? Perhaps you. It doesn't matter how I am. I stared straight into Yu Jong-hyuk's eyes and said. The important thing is that I can help you. He isn't a regressor. If he was a regressor, I wouldn't be unaware of him. Then who is this person? Perhaps? If I couldn't hide my hand and if I didn't possess the best hand, then there was only one way out. It was to show a hand that would make the other person misunderstand. Yu Jong-hyuk, I know the future that you don't know. The character, Yu Jong-hyuk, has used the lie detection skill. Lie detection has confirmed that your words are the truth. Yu Jong-hyuk's eyes slowly widened. How? How else? No way. There was a prophet other than Anna Croft? It is also in South Korea. Prophet. In Ways of Survival, it was the only attribute that could see the future and had the passive of nullifying all detection skills. In fact, only one person had the attribute of a prophet in the world of Ways of Survival. Only a prophet can defend against my Sage's Eyes. I didn't answer and Yu Jong-hyuk bit his lips. Can you perhaps use future sight? It is something similar. You knew I would come here. Yes. I see. If this man is a prophet, all his actions are convincing. The flow was changing. Yu Jonghyuk's fluctuation was conveyed straight away. This was the only chance. I know that Yu Jonghyuk has special powers. You also know things about the future. Isn't that right? But that knowledge is never perfect. The only weakness of a regressor. It meant that the future changed when they used their information of the future. In other words, all those who regressed would eventually live in a world they don't know. Make me your companion. I can fill in the parts you are missing. There was no companion as good as a prophet to the present Yu Jonghyuk. In fact, my present self could play a role similar to a prophet. It was because I was the only reader of this story. There is 1 minute to the end of the scenario. Yu Jonghyuk bowed his head and started to think. A prophet will certainly be helpful. There are 50 seconds left to complete the scenario. Not just the 46th scenario, but later when fighting the catastrophe. But, can I really believe him? There are 40 seconds left to the end of the scenario. Companion. Finally, Yu Jonghyuk raised his head as I stared at the clock with an irritated heart. I have decided. I will make you my companion. Excessive immersion has severely worn out your mental strength. Exclusive skill, omniscient reader's viewpoint has been turned off. I wasn't sure if it was due to fatigue or relief, but the exclusive skill was released. Now Yu Jonghyuk's face was as difficult as a philosophy book with no commentary written. Yu Jonghyuk started to take me across the even bridge. Of course, I was still held by the collar, but I thought things would be all right now. I persuaded this damn regressor and was in a good position. We had almost crossed the even bridge and were right in front of the safe area when Yu Jonghyuk suddenly stopped. I will ask you one last thing. What? If you are really a prophet, you should know your future. Isn't that right? The moment I saw Yu Jonghyuk's serene eyes, goosebumps broke out. His test wasn't over yet. The grip holding my collar tightened. Kiok. His hand raised me up a little bit and a gentle wind passed by my feet. Underneath me was completely empty. The smell of blood mixed in with the smell of Han River as the ichthyosaurs jumped towards their prey with open mouths. Will I let go of this hand or won't I? For the first time, I started sweating. Let me think. Even without his thoughts, I knew this guy more than anyone else. I closed my eyes and thought about Yu Jonghyuk. There are 20 seconds left to the end of the scenario. Then I came to a conclusion. Yu Jonghyuk. I was certain about what he would do. No matter how I thought about it, there was no other ending when it came to Yu Jonghyuk. I talked as I watched a sea commander approaching in the water. I will tell you 2 things first. What? 1, I'm not your subordinate. So I hope you will treat me fairly from now on. 2, I will cooperate with you, but you also have to promise to cooperate with me. Yu Jonghyuk looked at me with interest and nodded. Well, what is your answer? I replied with a smile. Get your hand off me and get lost, you damn jerk. Then the power holding me disappeared. I was grabbed by the force of gravity. I saw Yu Jonghyuk's face as I was falling. Yu Jonghyuk was smiling brightly like something made him happy. Son of a bitch. I believe you. You are definitely a prophet. Waiting for me at my crash point was the mouth of the giant sea commander. I closed my eyes from the shock of the impact along with the cold water of Han River. As I sucked in a breath, a warm and enormous darkness swallowed me up. You have failed to clear the scenario. Damn, I have to use that method after all. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Comments. My body suddenly became heavy as I felt water entering my lungs. Then I was sucked in somewhere. I wasn't torn apart because I fell with perfect timing. However, I couldn't lose consciousness here. I had to stay awake. I needed to wait for a while. I somehow managed to curl up and hold my breath. 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, I was barely breathing when my hands hit a tangible wall in the darkness. Yuyuek. I could barely breathe after coughing up the river water several times. My level 10 stamina saved me from being killed by hitting the water surface, but the large and small bruises all over my body were very painful. I controlled my breathing in order to not fall into a panic and turned on my smartphone. I was worried it might have broken in the fall, but the power was fortunately okay. It was good that I spent big and bought a smartphone with a waterproof function. Pahat. The flashlight turned on and the surrounding scenery entered my eyes. There were huge walls with concrete byproducts floating by. The stomach of an ichthyosaur was more disgusting than I thought. Damn it. Yu Jonghyuk's expression as he let go of his hand without hesitation and got off the bridge was vivid. I expected it, but it was more shocking than I thought. If I wanted to be his companion, I had to survive. It wasn't that I didn't understand. Companion. The weight of this word was too great for Yu Jonghyuk. Since his failure in the first round of regression, Yu Jonghyuk had never made a real companion. It was rare for humans to easily follow the growth of a regressor. As a result, he solved everything alone, was revered as a savior and was naturally lonely. To Yu Jonghyuk, humans were only subordinates or enemies. Thus, this was a test. If I wanted to be in an equal position with him, I had to solve this much alone. Well, this was when looking at it from Yu Jonghyuk's viewpoint. A companion like you, crazy psychopath. I barely doggy paddled to a floating styrofoam panel and raised my body onto it. Thanks to the warmth of the stomach, I wasn't cold. However, the problem was from now on. I closed my eyes and played the message log that I heard. You have failed to clear the scenario. Paid settlement will begin. 100 coins have been reduced for the channel usage fee. The constellation Prisoner of the Golden Headband has nodded at your exciting remarks. 100 coins have been sponsored. The constellation Demon-like Judge of Fire nods are your cois. 100 coins have been sponsored. The constellation Secretive Plotter is disappointed in your rash remarks. There were quite a few messages. In addition, a few exposed constellations sponsored me. Maybe it was due to the final conversation between Yu Jonghyuk and I. I felt a little down as I read through the messages of the constellations one by one and collected the coins. If I had picked one of these constellations in the first sponsor selection, this might not have happened. But there was no regret in my choice. After encountering Yu Jonghyuk directly, I was certain. The great sage, the equal of heaven, might be a sponsor of the highest quality, but he wasn't enough. I needed more than just sponsorship if I wanted to confront Yu Jonghyuk. And I would gain it from here. The walls of the stomach growled and small waves rose inside. The sea commander seemed to be moving somewhere. I turned on my smartphone and calculated the time. According to Ways of Survival, the ichthyosaur started to secrete stomach acid around 3 hours after ingesting food. In other words, I didn't have much time left. It is sad that things turned out like this. It was very interesting. There was a sound effect before the Dakibi's voice was heard. Dakibi? Yes, that's right. You don't seem panicked at all. I knew you would come. HRMM. It sounds like you were waiting for me. Of course I have been waiting. Light turned on and the Dakibi appeared. I couldn't tell for sure from his expression alone, but this guy was clearly interested. I deliberately spoke calmly. If I was pushed here, I wouldn't be able to eat my meal. Are you doing to take coins from me? Coins? You have to take coins in exchange for me failing the scenario. Not your life? If it was my life, you would have written death in the failure results column, not 3 question marks. Doesn't this mean there is room to negotiation? Ha. How interesting. In fact, there was a loophole in my words. The scenario message was failure. This literally meant that the penalty of failure was unknown. It was just my assumption that it was in exchange for coins. Nevertheless, there was a reason why I was so certain. Am I wrong? It was because I already knew about this scenario. The Dakibi hesitated for a moment before nodding. You are right. Amazing. That you could determine this point with such a clue, as expected from someone who is attraction the constellation's attention. The Dakibi's tone was filled with sincere admiration. As you said, you can survive this sub-scenario if you pay coins, even if you fail. How much? Pay 5,100 coins. Then I will let you live. I looked at how many coins I currently possessed. Coins possessed, 5,100 C. I couldn't help smiling. This jerk was messing around right now. That is too much. Then won't you die? It is up to me to accept the coins or not. If you do something wrong, then I can just end it here. Then kill me. Kill me. NOVLB //. It was natural. He was having a lot of fun with me right now. Furthermore, he wouldn't have come down here to see me if he had been planning to kill me. For this guy, I had to survive here or I at least had to die miserably. You are really making me angry. Look, now. The Dakibi's flat-shaped eyebrows wriggled furiously. It was time to stop the taunts and get to the main point. Low-grade Dakibi, Baihyung. How are the activities of a streamer? If there was a crack in the face, it would look exactly like this. Dakibi Baihyung showed confusion for the first time. How do you know my name? You haven't been enjoying broadcasting lately, right? The constellations are too stingy. Who the hell are you? How does a human? Baihyung's horns shook. It was natural. An ordinary human couldn't know about the star stream system. But I wasn't an ordinary human. A few constellations have doubts about your existence. The constellation Secretive Plotter's eyes are shining at your plan. From now on, it wasn't a story for the constellations. I mouthed to Baihyung, how about we talk after you close the channel? Baihyung was worried and closed the channel. #BI7623 channel is closed. Once the constellations left the channel, Baihyung showed his true colors. Feel free to speak. How can an ordinary human know about the star stream broadcasting? That isn't important. Baihyung, do you want to be king of the Dakibis? What now? Don't you wish to be the best streamer in the network, surpassing Dokgak and Gildal? Baihyung's complexion was changing. Dakibi Baihyung, sign a contract with me. Then I will make you the king of the Dakibis. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Star Stream System. The Star Stream broadcasting was designed to relay its contents to the entire universe. The subscribers were constellations at the top of the distant galaxies. The actors were humans like me. And the storyteller that connected the two sides was the Dakibi in front of me. You are crazy. A crazy human. I should have known it when you refused to sponsoring of the other constellations. Bai Hyung laughed for a long time before opening his mouth again. I don't know how you know about Star Stream Broadcasting, but I can't accept the offer. I'm a Dakibi, not a constellation. I can't be your sponsor. You seem to have misunderstood. I never told you to sponsor me. Huh. I am well aware that you are a weak Dakibi. I don't need your strength. I need your channel. My channel? Since you can't seem to understand me, is there a problem with your Korean language patch? No, what is this? Bai Hyung made a blank expression before belatedly. I will explain it simply. I want to sign an exclusive contract with your channel. Bai Hyung made a blank expression before belatedly regained his spirit. Wait a minute. Do you want to make a stream contract with me now? Yes. A stream contract was originally a contract between Dakibi and constellations. The constellation's incarnation would appear on a particular channel and the Dakibi would receive a portion of the coins earned by the incarnation of the constellation as a commission. Originally, the person who was the incarnation couldn't intervene in this contract. It was called sponsorship, but the contracted incarnation was nothing but a slave. Haha, this is a hit. Bai Hyung laughed behind small fingers. The surrounding atmosphere was changing. I don't know how you know about such things, but some human dares to mention the stream contract. It is also a trivial buy with no sponsor. The tone changed and the surrounding air was filled with killing intent. Indeed, even a low-level Dakibi was strong compared to humans. But it wasn't enough to make me back off. It is worth signing a contract because I have no sponsor. What? What do you think the purpose of a constellation is to enter a channel? Bai Hyung looked like a bad student at the sudden question. From now on, it was a special lecture time for the low-level Dakibi. You don't have to be so nervous. You already know this information. But let's review it again to see what it means. Bai Hyung was caught in my pace and nodded despite himself. The Star Stream subscribers can be largely divided into two groups. One group are the fun seekers who seek to relieve their boredom with the channel. The other group are the incarnation searchers who want to find an incarnation to contract with them. Isn't that right? Yes. That's right. For this reason, you must be able to satisfy one of the two groups in order to become a famous channel in Star Stream. In other words, either stick to the fun seekers or the incarnation seekers. You have to attract one of them properly. You are moderately well informed. But so what? What does this contract have to do with why constellations subscribe? I don't know how many more hints I have to give you. This is why your subscribers' number still isn't over 3 digits. Shut up. Say it quickly. Seeing Bai Hyung thrust his small horns at me cutely, it was hard to believe the Dakibi had blown up people's head a while ago. Now let's stop making fun of him and take a chance. What if there is a channel that can satisfy both the fun seekers and the incarnation searchers? What are you saying? Such a thing is impossible. Even if it is possible, it is only for a while. Bai Hyung's words were correct. The reason why it was impossible to satisfy all the constellations was due to the characteristics of the incarnation searchers group. The purpose of these constellations was to discover an incarnation. They changed channels as soon as the sponsor selection was over. Due to this, the incarnation searchers group were just temporary customers. But that is a story for when the sponsor selection proceeds normally. What? What if there is an incarnation who doesn't sign a contract with any constellation? And what if that incarnation shows an ability that transcends all over incarnations with sponsors? The existence of a strong incarnation would attract the eyes of the constellations. If this incarnation continued to not select a sponsor, the incarnation searchers group would continue to subscribe without leaving the channel. Wait a minute. Is this why you didn't select a sponsor? Yes, that's right. This is interesting. Bai Hyung grinned at me. Becoming the strongest incarnation without a sponsor, if there is such a thing, it certainly wouldn't be a dream to become the best Star Stream channel. But such an incarnation can't exist. Do you really think so? I admit that you aren't normal. You have attracted the attention of constellations from the beginning, and thanks to it, I have also been having fun. However, there is a limit to your delusions. Haven't you noticed it after going through that? An ordinary human can never beat an incarnation. That is the law of the world. I don't know that. You have already missed the opportunity. Look around you. This isn't a main scenario. You failed a sub-scenario and now your life is at risk. There are no constellations watching you. Really? By now, the constellations must be in an uproar. Aren't they? Isn't everybody clamoring for the channel to quickly be opened? Bai Hyung was silent. Aren't they all going crazy with curiosity right now? Who is that crazy person who went against the regressor? Is he really a prophet? Can he really see the future? If he can see the future, what did he get eaten by the ichthyosaur? Stop. You are. From now on, I'm going to show it. So shut up and do what I tell you. Do you want to become the king of Dakibis? Bai Hyung's gaze towards me was changing. I could hear the sound of him gulping. Bai Hyung was worrying. In any case, there was nothing to lose if he believed me here. Then? Bai Hyung's pupils moved quickly. Then let's settle the scenario failure first. Give me 5,100 coins. What are you saying? I didn't fail. Maybe by now I would have met the conditions. I loosened my body and got up from my seat. My cold body was stiff. Bai Hyung still had a stupid expression on his face. Open the channel. It will start soon. Start, what will? Then a message was heard in the air. The hidden scenario has arrived. Plus. Hidden scenario, Commander Slayer. Category, hidden. Difficulty, A+. Clear conditions, kill the ichthyosaur sea commander and escape from its stomach. Time limit, 10 days n/o/vel/b/in.c//om. Compensation, 9,000 coins. Failure, death. Plus. Look, didn't I tell you to be prepared? There were 3 types of scenarios in Ways of Survival. The main scenario was in charge of progressing the main story. The sub-scenarios were responsible for minor events. And the hidden scenarios were only opened through special conditions. How on earth? Bai Hyung's lips were shaking with shock. Unlike the main scenarios and sub-scenarios that a Dakibi was in charge of, the hidden scenarios were characterized by their automatic appearance when certain conditions were met. You didn't even know. You low-grade Dakibi. You, what on earth? Anyway, if I can clear this, I will prove that I have the ability for the contract, right? Bai Hyung watched the scenario screen with gloomy eyes. He looked at me with a careful gaze and asked. This scenario, the difficulty is A+. Do you really believe you can clear it? Yes. There was a small wave as the Han River water crashed against the wall of the ichthyosaur's stomach. Bai Hyung was silent for a moment before opening his mouth. Okay. If you succeed in clearing this scenario, then I will accept the contract. The terms of the contract will be negotiated after the scenario is cleared. So arrogant, then I will open the channel again. Please try hard. Wait a minute. It would be difficult if he left already. I had something to check. You have something left to do. What is it now? Bai Hyung's mocking tone was somewhat annoying. Fix a system error for me. System error? My attributes window isn't opening. No way. The system can't have an error. The scenario system is perfect. Take a look yourself. Bai Hyung looked at me with suspicious eyes and started to mutter something. The Dakibi Bai Hyung has used system interference on you. System interference. It was an absolute interference skill that could only be used by Dakibis with the right to interfere in the scenario. In fact, it was unclear if the reason why I couldn't see the attributes window was an error or not. But at least the Dakibi would be able to find out something. And if he couldn't figure it out, that was also a profit for me. The exclusive skill, Fourth Wall, is activated. In the next moment, sparks flew in the air and struck Bai Hyung. Looking at the situation, I got a sense of what happened. What is it? Is something wrong? This isn't possible. How can there be a firewall preventing the system interference? It seemed Fourth Wall blocked not just the skills of an incarnation but the Dakibi's interference as well. If this was true, it meant nobody in Ways of Destruction could see my attributes window, including myself. How interesting. It was the perfect condition to become a scammer. Forget about it. Please wait. I can do it. What if I do this? You can't do it. Quack. Bai Hyung screamed like he had received an electric shock. The white fluffy hair on his skin was burnt black. This. It's okay. If you can't do it, then stop. I will ask for another favor. This can't be. I am Dakibi Bai Hyung. If I can't solve this situation, the honor of the Dakibi. I looked at the clock. It had been an hour since the ichthyosaur ate. There was no time to delay like this. The Dakibi bag. Bai Hyung stopped his useless action of digging at the air. What? Open the Dakibi bag. How do you know about that? Are you going to open it? Only an incarnation with a sponsor can use the Dakibi bag. It is true that all incarnations that use the Dakibi bag have a sponsor. But there is no rule that an incarnation without a sponsor can't use the Dakibi bag. Wait a minute. Bai Hyung pulled out a manual and confirmed it. At this point, I don't know if I am a Dakibi or you are. Are you actually a Dakibi? The smiling Bai Hyung raised both hands. Okay, there is no problem if you use it. However, the Dakibi bag can only be used when the channel is open for streaming purposes. Is that okay? It's fine. #BI7623 channel is open. The constellations have entered. Then an electric current appeared in the air. A transparent screen emerged in front of me. Welcome to the coin shop, the Dakibi bag. The Dakibi bag. It was the moment when this damn world's cash store was opened. ******. There were 2 ways to use coins in Ways of Survival. One of them was to raise the level of the stats such as stamina and strength. The other was to use it as a common form of currency that could be used in various stores, including the Dakibi bag. Buy it now. A starter pack for your incarnation for 2,500 coins. A today-only special. A 300% growth package, grow faster than others. Did you accidentally pick an incarnation with a bad attribute? Don't worry. The random attribute box that can randomly change the attribute has been released. There were numerous coin items, including various packages. All of the advertisements in the Dakibi bag were aimed at the constellations raising incarnations. It was natural. The original customers of the Dakibi bag were constellations. I got rid of the pop-up advertising windows one by one. It was nothing compared to the disasters that emerged after the 5th main scenario, but a Sea Commander Ichthyosaur was no different from a disaster for the early stage incarnations. I needed some items sold in the Dakibi bag to defeat the Ichthyosaur. Let's see. I looked at the catalog before glancing over at Baihyung. Hey, are these the only items I can buy right now? Is there a search function? At that, shit. Wait. Constellations. Please. Please calm down. From the moment the channel opened, Baihyung was repeating complaints with a comic-like sweat. It was just a server error that shut the broadcast off for a while. I didn't turn it off on purpose. There was a total of 20 stars above Baihyung's head. Since not too many of them had left the channel, it seems that quite a few constellations wanted to see what happened to me. Of course, not all the constellations were friendly. A few constellations are questioning the fairness of the broadcast. A few constellations are suspicious of the privileges you have received. It wasn't unexpected. While the broadcast was off, a hidden scenario started and the Dakibi bag was opened. It was no wonder that the constellations were surprised. No, preferences. Look at this, constellations. I am a Dakibi. Don't you know that I will be extinguished if I do that? Don't you know that the storyteller vow is never light? Will you help me? There is a product search button in the lower right corner. Thank you. I ignored Baihyung and pressed the magnifying glass icon at the bottom of the package window. The product search function is activated. The produce search is limited to 5 times a day. Any additional searches will cost 100 coins per search. In any case, humans and Dakibi were the same. The total number of free searches given was 5. 2 searches were enough to buy the materials I needed, so I had 3 searches left. The constellation secretive plotter is wondering about your plan. Yes, be curious. If you are curious, keep watching. The constellation Abyssal Black Flame Dragon is looking angrily at your actions. Don't watch if you are going to get all twisted up. I opened my mouth to use the search function. Search for the Ancient Dragon item. There are 3 search results. A small pop-up window soon emerged. Asterisk Ancient Dragon's Heart, stock. Asterisk Ancient Dragon's Bone, stock, 1. Asterisk Ancient Dragon's Horn, stock, 1. I chose the Ancient Dragon's Heart. Item information. Name, Ancient Dragon's Heart. Rating, SS. Description, a heart containing the magic power of the Ancient Dragon Ignitus. It possesses near-infinite magic power and the attribute, Hellfire, will be acquired if a heart transplant is successful. Price, 1,500,000 C. Stock, just sold out. As expected, it was out of stock. From beyond the catalog, Baihyung, who was dealing with the constellations, looked at me with his jaw dropped. Crazy. How do you know the information about the Ancient Dragon? I just called out a nice name n/o/vel/b/in.c//om. It seems like a lie. I shrugged. In the original ways of survival, the owner of the Ancient Dragon's heart was already determined. If I remember correctly, the owner of the heart was currently in Italy. A person with good luck. They got such a diamond sponsor. I called out several more product names. The related product search is completed. Asterisk Great Demon's Eyes, stock, 0. Asterisk White Pure Star Energy, stock, 1. The Great Demon's Eyes was sold out. The hands of the constellations were really quick. Well, I couldn't buy it since the selling price was 1 million coins. At any rate, it was good to have a sponsor. Now the incarnation with the Great Demon's Eyes would grow and destroy the beginner scenarios. What are you really? What type of cheat are you using? How do you know about items that can only be found in the search? I just said plausible names. Among the 3 items that I searched for, only the White Pure Star Energy was in stock. Furthermore, the price was 10,000 coins, so I couldn't buy it now. I put it in the shopping cart for now. What, are you buying it? Not right now. I am just window shopping. Sheesh, what a waste of time. I am going to buy something else, so bring up the items I call out from now on. I called out several item names. After a moment, a list of items emerged in front of me. Asterisk Mucus of the Hammer Seahorse, stock, 124. Asterisk Stone Hog's Pointed Thorn, stock, 17. I compared it to the list in my memories. The food of the Ichthyosaur, the Hammer Seahorse and the Stone Hog, the nemesis of sea species. There was no doubt. This combination was the best when it came to attacking an Ichthyosaur. 4 Mucus, 4 Thorns. It is 800 coins. Yes, but, where are you going to use these miscellaneous items? You don't need to know. I don't want to be nosy, but why don't you buy something else? For example, this Wuryong sword technique. It is originally 8,000 coins, but I will now sell it for 4,000 coins. Wouldn't buying this be more helpful to clear the scenario? Thank you, but I will just buy this. Baihyung wasn't satisfied but received the payment. 800 coins have been consumed. In the darkness, a sparkling powder gathered and 4 elongated thorns and 4 pockets of black mucus appeared. I can't give a refund if you regret it now. Do you understand? I know. I briefly nodded and started working. I took off my top, tied it around my waist and stuck the thorns in the gap, while the pockets were hung from my waist. The stone hog's thorn was stumpy but became sharp at the end. It was approximately 1 meter in length. It was a reasonable size to pierce something. Then I'll be going. I can't stay with you. There is something fun going on in another place. Do it. Ho-ho, then hang in there. I hope the story will bless you. Bai-hyung disappeared in a flash of light and the surroundings became dark again. I could use the light on my smartphone but I wanted to save the battery as much as possible. In the darkness, the stone hog thorn was emitting a bluish light. It was a feeble light but for the moment, it would be sufficient. I pulled out a thorn and swung it. Maybe it was because I didn't have a skill such as weapons training or incarnation of all soldiers. I couldn't get used to holding the thorn. A few constellations are bored. The impatient constellations left the channel. I couldn't see it but Bai-hyung was probably fretting right now. Then an hour passed. Right, left, up and down. I didn't like it but I no longer had a problem handling the thorn. The surface finish was rough and didn't seem like it would slip easily from the hand. It was time to begin. I used the proper force and stabbed at the ichthyosaur wall above me. Tying. It was like poking a rubber elastic wall as the thorn bounced off. My current strength wasn't high enough to tear at the stomach of the ichthyosaur. It would probably be the same if I used a skill. Coo 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 coo. At that moment, the small holes at the top of the stomach wall opened simultaneously. Then an absolutely disgusting liquid poured out. Kaweek. One of the demonic people floating on something in the stomach started shrieking. Ch-ch-chu. The skin of the demonic person started burning. The digestion of the ichthyosaur had begun. The ichthyosaur's digestive juices quickly mixed in the river water and started to melt away at the concrete and other floating products. Chew 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 chew. There was no time. It was going as planned. I jumped from the floating object and gripped a bump on the wall of the stomach. Then I started climbing up the wall like I was rock climbing. Gurgle gurgle gurgle. The outlet of the digestive juices was right above. I put the thorn in my mouth and grabbed a pocket of mucus. The mucus of the hammer seahorse. I poured the mysterious dark blue liquid onto my hand and applied the mucus carefully from the tip to the end of the thorn. It was with precision and care, as if applying shaving cream to an area to be shaved. If the shaving cream protected the skin from the razor, the mucus protected the thorn from the digestive juices. Go. I swung the thorn towards where the digestive juices were coming from. The angle was correct and I used my maximum strength. Quang. The digestive juices flowed down the thorn and dissolved the skin on my forearm. Forearm. I experienced a terrible pain but didn't stop. If I made a mistake here then everything was over. The exclusive skill, fourth wall, has relieved some of the pain. Gurgle, gurgle, chururuk. Before long, the thorn jammed up the emission point. Just one. After a deep sigh, I pulled out another thorn from my waist. I applied the mucus of the hammer seahorse, found another opening and blocked it. A few constellations admire your calmness. The constellations have sponsored you 200 coins. I used this method to block 3 opening points. There were some left, but the small openings didn't release large amounts of digestive fluids. There was one thorn left in the top tightly tied around me. All that was left was one thorn and 2 pockets of mucus. I used the remaining mucus on my skin and clothes, then poured what was remaining down my throat. Cup. The fishy taste on my tongue was sickening but it was better than dying. The bitterness was nothing compared to the disaster that would occur from now on. It was around 5 minutes afterwards that the entire stomach started trembling. It had started. Keek dash. The ichthyosaur let out a painful scream. The blood vessels on the wall of the stomach were squirming. The thorns were visibly expanding into the blood vessels. The thorns in the openings had started their aggressive growth activity. The stone hog's thorn grew in response to the body fluids of seawater species. Gaduduk, gaduduk. The thorn that became immune to the digestive juices due to the applied mucus absorbed the surrounding fluids and started to take root in the body of the ichthyosaur. The stone hog's thorns wouldn't stop expanding until the ichthyosaur was completely dead. Key. As I watched the liquid swirling under my feet, I grabbed the thorn tightly. I did everything I could. From now on, it was a mental fight. Either I died or this guy would die. Only one of us would survive. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Omniscient. I didn't know how much time passed. My breathing was often interrupted and all my muscles were so stiff that I could barely move them. A few constellations admire your will to survive. The constellations have sponsored you 100 coins. But I persisted. I persisted because I believed I could hold on. The light emitted from the thorn in the darkness confirmed that I was alive. After confirming the falling temperature of the stomach wall, I was convinced that he was dying. The constellation, demon-like judge of fire, admires your spirit. The constellation has sponsored you 100 coins. When I was hungry, I placed my tongue to the end of the thorn. The condensed fluid that flowed out contained the life force absorbed from the ichthyosaur. The reason I drank the mucus in advance was to absorb this concentrate. Your stamina has slightly increased due to absorbing the power of the ichthyosaur. There wasn't an immediate effect of my stats level increasing, but by the time I escaped from the ichthyosaur, I would gain at least 2 levels in stamina. It wouldn't work at a higher level, but this was one of the few tricks I could use to raise my stamina without using coins. Indeed, this wasn't a dream. This was all I could do. I was just an ordinary reader. I wasn't a protagonist. It felt like I would wake up screaming in bed at any moment, but no such miracle happened, and no matter how much I blinked. Mother would be fine. She was okay. This wasn't anybody else, it was the mother. I fell asleep whenever the liquid on the floor drained away and woke up every time the cold river water entered my mouth. Finally, the ichthyosaur's digestion stopped. The warmth of the viscera suddenly cooled down and the elastic stomach lining gradually solidified. Thus, I could be sure. He died. You are really great. A bright light in the darkness. Bai Hyung's dim figure was floating in the air. Using the stone hog's thorn like this. I never even thought about it. Constellations, isn't it the same for you? Bai Hyung looked at the stone hog's thorn emitting a faint light. The stone hog is a guy who mainly lives on the coast and feeds on small sea species. They insert the thorn into the skin of the prey, but I didn't think it would be used to plug up the openings for the digestive juices. Bai Hyung's shining eyes weren't looking at me. The words weren't an explanation for me either. A few constellations are smiling as if they already know. The constellations have sponsored you 100 coins. A few constellations belatedly understand your judgment. The constellations complain that you should tell them by talking to yourself from now on. I ignored the messages from the constellations and drank the last of the condensed fluid. Your stamina has slightly increased due to absorbing the power of the ichthyosaur. Your stamina level has risen. Stamina LV 11-Stamina LV 12. I accomplished my intended purpose. Bai Hyung came down to me and looked at my burnt arm. Furthermore, the mucus, I didn't know the mucus of the hammer seahorse was so potent. Originally, my skin should have melted from the ichthyosaur's digestive juices. I opened my mouth to stop Bai Hyung's nonsense. The mucus of the hammer seahorse is immune to digestive fluids. They evolved in this way after often being eaten by the ichthyosaurs. A few constellations admire your knowledge. Then Bai Hyung looked at me with a betrayed expression. Excuse me, I should be the one explaining. I did it because you don't know. Now is the explanation over? Yes. Then give me the reward. Cheeky bastard. Bai Hyung grumbled while at the same time, a reward message appeared in front of my eyes. The hidden scenario has ended. You have obtained 9,000 coins in compensation. You are the first to have successfully hunted a grade 7 species. You have earned 1,000 coins as an achievement reward. 9,000 coins plus an additional 1,000 coins. It was a very huge income. Coins possessed, 14,800 C. If I added the 500 donated coins from filming my survival, the total income was 10,500 coins. It was over my target. Huh, constellations. Did you see it well? Let's quickly watch an advertisement before going straight to the next scenario. I could hear the faint sounds of an ad somewhere. New scenario opening featured package, 8,800 coins. Once the eyes of the constellations disappeared, Bai Hyung started speaking to me in a friendly manner. Sigh, it was a great survival. The response from the constellations was amazing. How much time passed? 4 days. I was in suspense the whole time I was watching. Were you unaware of the time? My smartphone died. It took more time than I thought. The original goal was 2 days. Well, Yu Jonghyuk took 4 days in the 4th round to catch this, so the speed wasn't slow. Anyway, I did it. A pleasant feeling of fulfillment covered my whole body and made me confident. I was an ordinary person with ordinary skills. But even so, this didn't mean I could only do ordinary things. How funny. It was strange. A novel that hadn't been helpful for 28 years was now making me extraordinary. Oh, you are already talking to yourself? Isn't it good? For an incarnation, talking to yourself is essential. Of course, there are constellations who dislike it, but usually. Shut up and open the Dakibi bag. Why? Are you going to buy something? I'm not buying but selling. Damn, I'll have to cut the ad short. Constellations, hold on a second. I'll adjust the volume. As Bai Hyung opened the Dakibi bag, I looked at the thorns embedded in the wall. The upper barrier was hardened and deep cracks formed around the thorns. I could now smash through the upper barrier with my strength. I broke the wall little by little with the one remaining thorn. Shortly afterwards, I encountered the core of the ichthyosaur that was glowing blue. Ichthyosaur's core. It was an ether core found in monster species grade 7 or higher. I could raise my magic power level without coins if I ingested them. It was good quality because it was a Sea Commander grade ichthyosaur. I carefully cut at the flesh around the core while Bai Hyung looked at me with a dumbfounded expression. I'll sell this. You really? Of course, I don't mean to sell it to you. I'll put it on the Dakibi auction. Bai Hyung accepted it like he was tired of asking me anything. Sigh, do what you want. How much are you going to charge? I won't sell it for coins. I'll sell it by barter. Damn, you know all sorts of things. n/o/vel/b/in.c/om. Bai Hyung grumbled while uploaded the item to the Dakibi auction. His desires were simple. This guy might listen better than I thought. Someone will show up to buy it. And the item exchanged must be broken faith. Broken faith? There is a person with it, in any case, it is registered. Yes. And I will buy this. I saw white pure star energy in the shopping cart. Indeed, nobody bought it yet. Most constellations weren't well aware of the value of coin items. The expensive items in the Dakibi bag weren't unconditionally good. Wait a minute, can I talk to you for a moment? At Bai Hyung's words, the advertising volume increased again. The constellations are complaining about the long advertisement. Once I saw that one more advertisement had appeared, I had a hunch about what Bai Hyung wanted to say. Is it the contract? Advertising was the only way to hide the eyes and ears of the constellations without turning off the broadcast. From now on, it wasn't a story for the constellations. Yes. I wasn't certain, but I became convinced after this scenario. Well, let's try it once. I can help you a little bit. Won't this violate the streamer's pledge? Ah, of course, I can't really help you. I'm just saying that. Will you sign the contract? What are the conditions? Take a look. The Dakibi pulled out an extravagant contract that had been prepared. I read the contract that emerged as a transparent window in the air. Stream Contract Agreement. Incarnation Kim Dojka, Gap, will sign an exclusive contract with Bai Hyung, Yul, until all scenarios are completed or until his death. TL, Gap and Yul are based on the 10 celestial/heavenly stems, link. In Korea, they are consistently used to denote the smaller and larger contractor in a legal contract. I am the Gap. Huh, don't humans like this? It doesn't mean anything. Keep reading. Incarnation Kim Dojka, Gap, will never choose a sponsor until all scenarios have ended or his death. This was also as expected. Incarnation Kim Dojka, Gap, should only be active on the channel of Dakibi Bai Hyung, Yul. Incarnation Kim Dojka, Gap, and Dakibi Bai Hyung, Yul, will distribute the revenue from stream contracts, and this ratio will be determined through mutual consultation. Incarnation Kim Dojka, Gap, and Dakibi Bai Hyung, Yul, will be subject to destruction in accordance to the laws of Star Stream if they break this contract. I read the contract carefully to the last item. I thought he might play an unknown joke, but I didn't see that part. Except for one thing. There is the most important part. What do you mean? You can just say that you agree. The stream contract is a sole pledge. I'm talking about the pay ratio. Right. As if this bastard didn't know. This was the most important part. How about 5:5? Instead, I'll get rid of my channel fee. Do you know how to calculate it? I will accurately divide your future donations in this ratio. For example, if you get 100 coins, you will receive 50 coins and I will receive 50 coins. All stream contracts were like this. The constellations had incarnations appear on the Dakibi's channel and the contributions received from other constellations would be divided by a percentage. This was normal. Are you taking me for a pushover? I won't accept. What? But this is the industry's default settlement ratio. I'm an incarnation without a sponsor. When donating to an incarnation without a sponsor, the constellations must pay a huge fee to the Dakibi. Haven't you already enjoyed a lot thanks to me? Bai Hyung's jaw slowly dropped open. But there was no point making that expression. 10 o'clock, you will only get the commission. I won't pay you a single penny. What? That is ridiculous. How about 7:3? The ratio changed greatly. But I wasn't going to concede. 10 o'clock. What is this fucking bullshit? It is a ridiculous rate. Then don't accept. I will just go to another channel. Gildal is doing well these days. I should ask him. 8:2. I can't concede anymore. 10 o'clock. Bai Hyung's expression changed to a threatening one. He looked at my head like it would explode at any minute. But I knew. He would never give up the contract. My existence was his last chance. The advertisement is coming to an end. Don't you see the constellations complaining? In the end, Bai Hyung gave up. Shit, I understand. Then will you sign the contract? He surrendered easier than I thought. In fact, I was going to give up at 9:1. Maybe he earned more money than I expected. It was a bit disgusting. Yes. And one more thing. What? What now? You have to give a separate down payment. Give me 5,000 coins. Bai Hyung's expression tightened. Why you really? I laughed. Why was a gap, and why did humans dwell on it? I would let that damn Dakibi know. The stream contract is concluded. You have received 5,000 coins as a down payment. The advertisement finished and the constellations came back. I patted the Dakibi on the shoulder and said, let's get out of here. Now was the real start. Previous chapter. A meteor shower was pouring down in the starry sky. It was a sight that anyone would admire, but not Yu Jong-hyuk. It is starting. The meteor shower was the precursor to the third main scenario starting. Now Seoul would be destroyed one by one according to the scenario. Yu Jong-hyuk looked up at the sky before bowing his head and looking at the Han River. The landscape around Dongo Bridge was quite desolate since the large group of ichthyosaurs had recently moved downstream. It was too much. It had already been 3 days since Kim Dokja entered Han River. It might have been too much to demand that he catch the ichthyosaur at the first level. Indeed, it would be hard for me to catch an ichthyosaur in 3 days. But it would be impossible to take him if he couldn't do this much. If he couldn't even do this much, it would only hinder Yu Jong-hyuk. A profit isn't a big deal. Yu Jong-hyuk closed his eyes with disappointment. He would go on his own again. Without any companions. It wasn't a big deal. He had been alone all this time. This time I will definitely change it. Yu Jong-hyuk turned around. But maybe he had turned away too soon. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Wait. What? I blinked several times but could only see a gray-white ceiling. I was still inside the ichthyosaur. I turned my head and saw the surprised Baihyung. I had a dream. Ohu, are you trying to raise curiosity? It isn't bad. I didn't mean to do such a thing but I didn't mind the misunderstanding. A few constellations want you to move to a new place quickly. I used 500 coins to buy the Elaine Forest's vital force to help me sleep. I thought it was too dangerous to move while exhausted. The Elaine Forest's vital force quickly recovered fatigue and wounds in exchange for 2 hours of sleep. In other words, it was an expensive item. I really want to go out. I talked to myself while stretching my body. The dream I just had was still clear. Maybe it wasn't a dream. Kwajajijik. I heard the sound of an electric current scattering and Baihyung disappeared without a word. Maybe he went to do his job. I sighed with relief. The stream contract with the Dakibi. It was a gamble that I never would have attempted if I hadn't known about Baihyung from Ways of Survival. But I did it with surprising calm. I never succeeded in any contracts in real life. The exclusive skill, Fourth Wall, is in use. This was real. I inserted strength to my right hand holding the thorn. I really thought this world was reality. A few constellations want you to act. Well, there was no time to worry about it. I swung the thorn as hard as I could at the stomach wall that lost its elasticity. At the same time, there was the sound of something collapsed and water pouring out. I plunged into Han River. Pwah. Fortunately, I didn't see any other ichthyosaurs. Small seawater species approached with curiosity but no hostility was felt. Not all creatures would attack humans. Dongo Bridge was over there. I used a piece of the ichthyosaur corpse as a flotation device and made my way towards dry land. My skin was cold from the cold water but I couldn't worry about it. After 30 minutes of swimming, my hand reached land. A few constellations are nervous looking at you. Normally, danger would immediately come after this message popped up. The constellation Abyssal Black Flame Dragon is making an insidious smile. It was a pity for the constellations but something bad wouldn't happen to me. It was because I already knew the dangers. You have entered the region of the second main scenario. The land in the scenario area is deeply polluted. Be careful about your breathing and move underground as quickly as possible. The message said this but in fact, I shouldn't be on the ground from the moment this scenario started. Why? Look at my skin now. You have been exposed to poisonous fog. The skin touched by the violet fog turned black. Kaya. Once I followed the source of the fog with my eyes, I saw a monster making terrible cries. It was a massive monster over 30 meters big. This fog was the fart of the grade 7 monster, Great Poisonous Rhinoceros. The rhino snorted and confronted a monster in the fog, which seemed to be an insect king species based on the shadow. Qua. The struggle in this new world wasn't just for humans. The monsters were also fighting for their homes. I moved while holding my breath as much as possible. They were grade 7 monsters like the ichthyosaur but I couldn't do with them right now. In the first place, I could kill the sea commander because I was prepared. You have used the Elaine monkey's lungs. The monkey's lungs was an item I bought in advance that could be used as a substitute for an air purifier for 20 minutes. A few constellations admire your readiness. The above-ground station, Oksu Station, had already been destroyed. The nearest underground station from here was Gumho Station. Maybe the others had moved there. I moved quickly while avoided the small species that were eating the corpses. I only had 20 minutes, so I needed to move as quickly as possible while securing supplies. The first thing I needed was clothes. My outerwear was melted by the ichthyosaur's fluid so it was necessary. Of course, there were many of them all around but I felt uncomfortable. It couldn't be helped. I searched some bodies and grabbed clothes that roughly fit. Then I headed to a nearby convenience store. I grabbed a few plastic bags and swept in food randomly. Food would be a valuable trading item after going underground. I filled 3 or 4 bags like this. It seemed that the color of the monkey's lungs was becoming increasingly darker. There wasn't much time left. Then I heard someone's voice. Help, help me. There was someone still alive? A young woman was lying down in a corner. The poisoning was progressing on the surface of the skin, but the toxic condition wasn't severe due to the mask she was wearing. Her jacket was half removed and a bit of her skirt was torn. Are you okay? Can you stand? Was there such an extra in Ways of Survival? I wanted to take a closer look but I didn't have enough time. I picked up the woman and ran to Gumho Station. I turned and a side street appeared. Now the distance to Gumho Station was 100 meters in a straight line. I breathed in and started to run with all my strength. I could see the exit 3 sign in the distance. Closed. Then on the other side? There was a fire shutter down at every exit due to the disaster situation. I could break the shutter with his thorn, but if I did it wrong, the people inside might be damaged. Exit 4. Unexpectedly, the woman I was carrying was helpful. I ran towards exit 4. Then I found a fire shutter that was rolling down. I placed the thorn in the gap of the shutter that was trying to close. Somebody yelled out. Shit, what is this? Open the door. And no. You can't come in. Go away. There is a wounded person. We are already in a full state. We don't need any more people. It was full of people? Strange. Was there such a development? I don't care about that. I used the thorn as a lever and lifted the shutter as hard as possible. Since I used the coins to increase my strength to level 10, I now had the strength of half a dozen adult males. Yuaak. There was a loud sound and the people on the other side of the shutter became nervous. Run away. The scared men escaped into the darkness of the underground passage. I entered the station safely, lowered the shutter and put the girl down on the floor. You have entered the safety zone. The poisonous fog didn't come down to the underground area. There was no possible scientific explanation. It was just because of the scenario. Put this in your mouth. I took off the woman's mask and handed over the monkey's lungs. It wouldn't completely cure her, but it would have a neutralizing effect. A faint groan emerged from the mouth of the woman.